Chapter 70. Righteousness and Demons. I read function 5th update. Following Gu An's gaze, he saw a man in plain clothes sitting cross-legged above the Tao character. His figure and appearance were unremarkable, and even his aura was ordinary. If it weren't for Guan constantly using lifespan detection, he wouldn't have noticed anything extraordinary about this person. Underworld Demon Emperor, Void Crossing Realm 9th Layer 3847/5700/14000. Turns out he's a demon. Guan knew that demons of the same realm tend to have longer lifespans than cultivators of the human race, but seeing the opponent's 14,000-year lifespan, he couldn't help but be shocked. What cultivation technique has this guy practiced to completely conceal any demon energy? So much so that even he, a great cultivator in the unification realm, couldn't see through it. And most importantly, do demons like to practice swordsmanship? Guan couldn't help but think of his sky dragon, who was also obsessed with the sword Tao. He didn't keep staring at the underworld demon emperor, but continued to scan the other figures on the heavenly repair platform. Those who dared to sit and attain sword enlightenment had high cultivations. After all, those in the energy cultivation realm and foundation establishment realm were busy with energy absorption, and hadn't reached the point of prolonged meditation and enlightenment. Guan realized he had underestimated the influence of Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Although he hadn't heard of Chu Xian before, with Chu Xian's cultivation, he must be famous among the major forces in the immortal cultivation world, especially among great cultivators who were well aware of him. The fall of a Void Crossing Realm cultivator would undoubtedly shake the dynasty. It seemed he had to keep a low profile for the time being. With the spread of reputation, who knew how many troublesome entities might be attracted? After thoroughly looking at all the people on the heavenly repair platform, Guan left. He had developed the habit of using lifespan detection on anyone he met. Without checking the other's background, he felt uneasy. For the next few years, he planned to farm in peace until the immortal cultivation world forgot about Sword Venerable Fu Dao. He had already written the book about Sword Venerable Fu Dao and the outer sex scandal. Ji Hantian had been pushing him, and he finished writing it last month. This book wasn't a long novel, just a single volume was enough. Spring warmth blanketed the earth, and everything thrived. In the third medicine valley, Guan and Guyu were drinking inside. Your righteousness and demons has spread throughout the Taitsong dynasty. Now no one discusses the Supreme Immortal Venerable. They're all talking about the Supreme Sect and Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Guyu remarked jealously. Guan laughed. After all, the Supreme Sect is the #1 righteous sect. With such an incident, anyone would be curious. Don't worry, in a few years, the immortal cultivation world will lose interest. By then, people will still chase after your legendary battle against the demon emperor of the exotic realm. Hearing this, Gu Ye's expression brightened instantly, and he started praising how well Guan had written it while eagerly asking about the next part of the plot. Guan wouldn't reveal anything, making Guyu itch with curiosity. By the way, I've recently gotten hold of a book, and the protagonist is named Guan. It's quite interesting, Guyu suddenly said, taking a book out of his storage bag. The Supreme Secret Records. Seeing the title, Guan's heart skipped a beat. Darn it. It actually made its way out. My reputation is ruined. Guyu shook the Supreme Secret Records in his hand, snickering. Brother Gu, have you read this book? Guan curiously asked. What's this book about? It's a good book. Be honest, did you write it? Guyu asked with a smile. How could that be possible? Let me take a look. Is it really that good? Guan snatched the Supreme Secret Records from his hand and began flipping through it. Guyu raised an eyebrow and asked, Are you sure you didn't write it? Or did someone close to you write it? After reading the first page, Guan frowned as if he was genuinely seeing it for the first time. Seeing him frown, Guyu refrained from teasing him and instead poured himself a drink. As Guan's expression grew increasingly unpleasant, Guyu thought for a while and said, This book started circulating in the inner sect. You don't seem to know many inner sect disciples, so it must be a coincidence. After all, the name Guan isn't uncommon. Guan closed the Supreme Secret Records, took a deep breath, and asked, Does the book collection hall allow such a book to circulate? This book didn't go through the book collection hall, It's being passed around privately by the disciples, Guyu replied helplessly. Guan remained silent. Seeing the atmosphere turn awkward, Guyu got up to leave, consoling Guan a few more times before departing. After he left, Guan began to ponder the supreme secret records. He had to admit that Shenzhen had indeed studied the Green Hero travelogue thoroughly. At least this book, in his opinion, surpassed the original. Although some content was unsightly, the character of Guan in the book was full of a chivalrous spirit, with a carefree and unfettered personality, which was quite endearing and did not tarnish his name. After reading for an hour, Guan finally closed the supreme secret records, and then stepped out of the pavilion to continue his work. His goal was to plant medicinal herbs over an area of 100 miles as soon as possible. Today he planned to fence off the area to prevent inner sect disciples from trespassing. Inner sect city Ji Mansion. Ji Xiaoyu sat upright at the table, holding a book. Across from her sat Ji Hantian. How is it? How is this righteousness and demons written? Ji Hantian asked, putting down his teacup. Ji Xiaoyu flipped through the pages as she replied. It's quite good. The narration is immersive and doesn't cover up the Supreme Sect's sins, depicting Chu Xian's hideous face in great detail. But the outer sect disciples' unity is also very moving. At least, after reading it, I don't think the Supreme Sect is utterly rotten. I can still feel the foundation and spirit of Taikang's #1 orthodox sect. Ji Hantian's lips curled into a smile. Do you know who Panin is? Ji Xiaoyu remained silent. It's the house servant under your command, Guan. Unexpected, isn't it? Ji Hantian asked with a smile. Ji Xiaoyu said quietly. Actually, I already knew, but I didn't expect you to know as well. Grandfather, you didn't make him write this book, did you? It will cause him a lot of trouble. Ji Hantian feigned a cough and said. No worries, I will protect him. Thanks to this book, my influence in the Hall of Elders has increased. Overturning Chu Tianqi might not be impossible in the future. Ji Xiaoyu turned her attention back to the book in her hand, absent-mindedly saying, I actually think the Ji family shouldn't covet the position of sect leader. Things are quite good as they are, dispersed among various sects, not becoming a target. That's because you don't understand how hard it was for me under LV Baishan's pressure before. Otherwise, why would I let you join the Supreme Sect? It's to use your talent to gain face for me. Ji Hantian grumbled, getting agitated at the mention of LV Baitian. You've caused Guan so much trouble. Do you have any compensation for him? Of course I do. I've expanded his medicine valley to 100 miles. Also, you can bring Ji family's high-rank medicinal herbs to him for planting. I've investigated. This kid indeed has a knack for managing the valley. Moreover, if you get closer to him, he might beautify the Ji family in the future. I've read The Investiture of the Gods. His portrayal of GFA shows he holds the Ji family in his heart. Ji Hantian spoke earnestly, causing Ji Xiaoyu to frown. Ji Xiaoyu showed a look of dissatisfaction and said, Grandfather, dealing with people and matters shouldn't be overly calculative. Silly child, this isn't being calculative, it's a win-win situation. Why not? Ji Xiaoyu lowered her head, continuing to read, which made Ji Hantian shake his head. Ji Hantian stood up and said, The 100 Tribes Conference is approaching. You should prepare to secure the top spot on the Hidden Dragon list. After saying that, he took a step and disappeared into thin air within the room. Ji Xiaoyu didn't get up and kept staring at the book in her hand. March, the spring breeze was cool. One day in the early days of the month, someone from the Ji family came to the Third Medicine Valley, delivering a large batch of medicinal herb seeds to Guan. The lowest grade was rank 4, which made Guan very happy. Before leaving, the Ji family cultivator explicitly and implicitly conveyed that the third miss thought highly of him. These seeds were personally selected by her, and for any future needs, he could approach her. Guan naturally wouldn't refuse and expressed that he would never forget the third miss' kindness. Hearing this, the cultivator left satisfied. The Ji family, Guzong, and Jiangqiong were all giving him seeds, which saved Guan quite a bit in costs. He planned to recruit more servant disciples, filling up at least 20 positions, providing each with a demon beast and top-notch treatment. That day, Guan took Elder Tian to the outer sect city. Elder Tian had volunteered to come, saying he wanted to see the Righteous Path characters on the Heavenly Repair platform. Upon arriving at the outer Sex City, the two parted ways. As Guan approached the entrance of the Chores Hall, a male disciple came up to him whispering, "Taoist friend, I have a treasure here, just 2 low-grade spirit stones." 2? Why don't you just go rob someone? Guan said irritably, bypassing him directly. That disciple blocked him again, then took a book out of his storage bag, saying mysteriously, "Take a good look. Do you recognize this book?" Many inner sect disciples read it after exiting seclusion. It holds great opportunities within. Guan glanced at it and saw 4 words. The Supreme Secret Records. He directly pushed the other aside, leaving with a word. "Sorry, I read the Investiture of the Gods." The disciple looked at his departing figure, cursing quietly, then sought other people to sell to. An hour later, Guan emerged from the Chores Hall with 11 people in tow, both men and women, all young and looking excited. Guan's ability to recruit so many servant disciples at once indicated his unusual status. Following such a senior, their path in immortal cultivation would surely broaden. He led the servant disciples grandly to the Heavenly Repair platform. The servant disciples had been curious about the platform for a long time. However, due to their low cultivation, they hadn't dared to come, fearing it would irritate the great cultivators. Guan quickly spotted Elder Tian, who stood below the Righteous Path characters, watching intently. He glanced in another direction. The underworld demon emperor in the 9th layer of the Void Crossing realm was still there, currently making some gestures with his right hand. Guan watched for 2 breaths and thought to himself, "This isn't the sword move of the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword? This guy can comprehend sword moves just with sword intent? Too monstrous. No, I need to deepen my connection with the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword." Next time, I'll invest 1 or 2,000 years of lifespan to maintain my standing in the Sword Dao. Guan withdrew his gaze and walked towards Elder Tian. "Ha ha ha, I've comprehended it. I've comprehended it." Suddenly, a loud laugh resounded from the Heavenly Repair platform, drawing the attention of the tens of thousands on the platform. The speaker was an old man wearing a Taoist robe, although his white hair was a bit messy. He then leaped into the sky, reaching out with 2 fingers, pointing at the Righteous Path characters on the platform. Chapter 71, Sword Dao Holy Land, Restart the Plan 6th Update. Seeing the old man trying to destroy his writing, Guan's expression changed. "What's the meaning of this? Comprehend my sword intent, and still want to smash my writing?" Guan nearly made a move, but fortunately, there was no need for him to do so. Presumptuous. A thunderous shout echoed. The speaker was none other than Li Zuando's first sword servant, Iluyan. The 9th layer of the divinity transformation realm. Iluyan still had an imposing aura. A single shout made the whole city jump in fear. Not only Iluyan, but numerous great cultivators around the words, Righteous Path, also stood up. Even the 9th layer of the Void Crossing realm underworld demon emperor raised his eyes to look at the old man in the sky, showing dissatisfaction in his eyes. Guan immediately cast a lifespan detection. Pangyu, 2nd layer of the Void Crossing realm 1279/1720/1770. Already close to the limit. No wonder he's so deranged. Pangyu in the sky glanced at Iluyan, sneering contemptuously. "A mere divinity transformation, dare to stop me?" Divinity transformation? The disciples on the Heavenly Repair platform were in an uproar and retreated, fearing to be caught in the combat of the great cultivators. "Does Your Excellency look down on divinity transformation, but honor Void Crossing?" A cold voice came from another cultivator, not the underworld demon emperor. Guan had already noticed him. A great cultivator of the 5th level of the Void Crossing realm, dressed in the Supreme Sex Elder robe. Pang's face changed slightly as he pulled back his hand, flicked his sleeve, and snorted. "Fine, you Supreme Sect have many people and great forces, truly remarkable. I'll leave." Saying this, he turned and flew out of the city gates in the blink of an eye. "Trying to destroy my Supreme Sect's path enlightenment place, you think you can just leave?" A cold snort sounded. The voice was familiar to Guan, it came from Guzong. Guan sensed Guzong swiftly moving through the sky to chase Pangyu. The great cultivator of the 5th level of the Void Crossing realm also disappeared from the spot. The tense atmosphere of the heavenly repair platform eased. Cultivators on the platform started discussing the recent person and marveling at the strength of the supreme sect. Guan felt that this outer gate city owed him a great debt. In the past, there were never so many great cultivators here. Now there were always 2 Void Crossing realm great cultivators watching over the city, giving an immense sense of security, all thanks to the 2 words, righteous path he left behind. Then, Guan led the servant disciples toward Elder Tian. The servant disciples were very excited. Today, they were promoted to servant disciples and witnessed the great cultivator's confrontation. The mere names of divinity transformation and void crossing made their hearts yearn. Let's go, it's time to return. Guan patted Elder Tian's shoulder and said. Elder Tian came back to his senses and stood up. As they exchanged glances, Guan felt that Elder Tian had some changes. He instinctively cast a lifespan detection. 8th layer of the energy cultivation realm? How did he suddenly jump 2 layers? How long has it been? Guan felt astonished in his heart, but showed no emotions on his face. He had long premonition that Elder Tian would make a comeback. After all, Elder Tian didn't step down due to defeat, but due to his own mistake such a person was likely to return to the peak. An ancient hour later, Guan and others returned to the 3rd Medicine Valley. He asked Xiaochuan to help arrange these disciples. After Xiaochuan visited the 3rd Medicine Valley a few times, he didn't want to leave. He transferred all the demon creatures he raised there. Guan cared for him greatly and naturally did not refuse. Among the peers, only Xiaochuan stayed with him. Although Wuxia was his junior disciple, he came late and was not as important as Xiaochuan in his heart. Xiaochuan had been following Guan since childhood, always obeying. Such a junior disciple he naturally cherished dearly. Guan knew that in 200 years after the old friends passed away, it would be hard for him to build such relationships with others, so he treasured it very much. After returning to the valley, Elder Tian went alone to meditate under a big tree, contemplating something unknown. The setting sun cast a glow on the mountain top, as Yi Yan waved his spear before the sunset, creating a unique scene that sparked discussions among the new servant disciples. Seasons alternated, and more than 2 years passed quickly. That summer, at the age of 46, Guan stood at the mountain top, overlooking the mountains and rivers. As far as the eye could see, medicinal fields were everywhere, and one could vaguely see the estate amidst the woods. After spending more than 2 years, Guan finally managed to plant medicinal herbs across hundreds of miles. As he looked out, his heart was filled with a sense of accomplishment. A figure approached him. It was Xiaochuan. Senior brother, Yi Yan has left for months. When will we recruit a new servant disciple to fill the vacancy? Our medicine valley is too big. With one less person, others need to walk a little more. Xiaochuan asked. Guan took out the Valley Master token and handed it to Xiaochuan. You go recruit, let's see your judgment. Upon hearing this, Xiaochuan was thrilled, thanked Guan, and then hurried down the mountain. Guan looked towards the outer gate city, sensing a strong sword intent. Someone else succeeded in comprehending sword intent at the heavenly repair platform. In these 2 years, 4 people enhanced their sword intent at the heavenly repair platform, increasing the fame of the platform and soared Venerable Fudao. The heavenly repair platform even became a holy land for sword cultivators under the Taitsong dynasty. Sword cultivators from various sects would visit, and the supreme sect also showed the demeanor of being the #1 orthodox sect, allowing disciples of other sects to comprehend sword intent. This attitude, along with the spread of righteousness and demons, not only did not harm the supreme sect's reputation, but it also rose further. Guan admired the Hall of Elders every time he thought of this. These people truly had skills, both in power struggles and crisis management. It's no wonder they could become elders. After standing on the mountaintop for a while, Guan turned and descended. 2 years had passed, most medicinal herbs were still in the growth stage, but his lifespan's growth rate was not slow. He planned to restart his daily routine. Every midnight, invest 5 years of lifespan into cultivation, slowly enhancing cultivation level. The first layer of the unification realm felt somewhat insecure. with more great cultivators at the heavenly repair platform. Who knows when an old monster of the unification realm might appear? As he walked down the mountain, there were more than 20 miles to his pavilion. He strolled daily to appreciate his foundation, and never felt tired. Just like now, he enjoyed the scenery along the way, feeling joyful. Half an hour later, Guan walked along the riverside. A figure descended from the sky, landing behind him. Long time no see. Leah patted Guan's shoulder, trying to scare him. Guan pretended to shiver, as Leah practiced some energy-concealing method, landing silently. Why are you here? How have you been these years? Guan looked at Leah and asked joyfully. Leah proudly said, naturally good. After being severely injured by a demon cultivator last time, I started to cultivate diligently. Now I'm not the same as before. Really, I don't believe it. Wanna compete? Forget it. The gap between our realms is too big. It's unfair. You know it. Guan smiled, thinking to himself, brother, it would be unfair to you. They chatted while walking. Leah talked about his experience in the inner sect. Upon entering, he immediately sought the Hall of Elders, but before he got any results, chaos broke out in the outer sect. He was then worried about Guan's safety. He took a day to visit the Mystic Valley to see Guan, but Guan was not there. After confirming Guan's safety, he returned to the inner sect to focus on cultivation. He didn't want to lose again, nor always fight across realms. Why visit me today? Guan curiously asked. Leah laughed. My father asked Li Xuanyu and me to attend the 100 Clans Grand Meeting. The meeting is not simple. It's a combat contest of talents among the great clans of the 9 dynasties, with strength rankings recorded and spread in the immortal cultivation world. And the winners gain unimaginable opportunities. It's a contest of both clan honor and personal fame. By the way, your Ji family's Ji Xiaoyu will also attend. Hearing this, Guan's mind filled with various scenes, feeling quite interested. But he had no qualifications to participate. Even if he did, he wouldn't go. Just hearing about it was enough. Can you defeat our third miss? Guan teasingly asked. Couldn't before, now I'm not sure. Leah said confidently, making Guan glance at him. This guy's chi blood didn't seem normal. Why did he feel like demon beast chi blood? They continued chatting on their way back to the valley, and drank late into the night, with other disciples gathered to hear Leah talk about the 100 Clans Grand Meeting. Even Elder Tian joined in the fun. By the way, former sect leader LV Baitian once won the top of the Hidden Dragon list, Dragon and Phoenix list, and Immortal Fate list. He was invincible at every stage. It said he was the strongest sect leader in Supreme Sect's 3,000 years, but unfortunately, he deviated and perished. Leah sighed. Guan raised his eyebrows. Elder Tian was that formidable? He didn't look at Elder Tian to avoid revealing he knew Elder Tian's true identity. Tang Yu couldn't help asking. Martial Uncle Leah, can Zhou Tongyu win this Hidden Dragon list top position? The Hidden Dragon list ranked talents under 100 years old among various clans. Zhou Tongyu was already the number 1 of the younger generation. The book Supreme Immortal Venerable boosted his reputation. Many felt the Zhou Tongyu in the book was him. He had also visited Supreme Sect, sweeping the younger generation before leaving proudly. Leah glared at him, saying, What are you talking about? That top position is naturally your martial uncle's. What Zhou Tongyu? Watch. This time your martial uncle will make him taste defeat. Upon hearing this, all the disciples admired Leah. Such confidence was inspiring. Elder Tian chuckled. Actually, Zhou Tongyu isn't your biggest opponent. Supreme Sect hides someone stronger, with greater talent, but remains in seclusion. Leah asked. Who? LV Xian, who formed his core at 30. What? Leah's expression changed, others were also shocked. Most present were over 30, they couldn't imagine forming a core at 30. Guan's expression became peculiar. In these 2 years, Tianya Valley had a newcomer, LV Xian. He hadn't linked LV Xian to LV Baitian before, now it seemed, were they blood-related? Li Xiandao was truly capable, even digging out Supreme Sect's hidden genius, quite outrageous. Chapter 72. Reincarnation of the Great Power, the name of Guan's 7th update. Elder Tian mentioned LV Xian, prompting the disciples to ask questions, wanting to know what kind of person this top genius was. Li Yi secretly noted down the name, determined to defeat LV Xian in the upcoming competition and prove his own talent. That night, the third medicine valley was lively. Even Elder Tian became talkative, laughing frequently. At dawn, Li Yi bid farewell to Guan. "I'm leaving, wait for me to become famous." Watching Li Yi's departing figure, Guan suddenly felt a bit envious. Li Yi was always so energetic and ambitious, while Guan always thought a lot before doing anything, considering all factors. But thinking of Li Yi's miserable appearance when injured, his mouth couldn't help but turn up in a smile. Envy is fine, but don't imitate. After Li Yi left, the disciples of the Third Medicine Valley continued their work. With the territory expanding, daily patrols were needed. Guan returned to Mystic Valley, checked each area, then flew towards Tianya Valley. Along the way, he found a place to secretly convert 5 years of lifespan into cultivation, then continued on his journey. Arriving at Tianya Valley, Guan walked in from the valley entrance. As he climbed the hillside, he saw Yi Luyan and LV Xian sparring in a magical duel. LV Xian wore a red robe, his long hair flowing. At first glance, one might mistake him for a woman. He held a gourd-shaped fan and effortlessly countered Yi Luyan's sword strikes. The two of them moved back and forth in the air, evenly matched. Yi Luyan suppressed his cultivation. Otherwise, LV Xian wouldn't stand a chance against him. Guan couldn't resist performing a lifespan detection on LV Xian again. LV Xian, Core Formation Realm, First Layer 75/480/4900. He reached the Core Formation Realm at 30, but his cultivation hadn't advanced in the 45 years since. If not for the impressive lifespan of 4,900 years, Guan would find it hard to believe he was the Supreme Sect's top genius. Except for Ji Xiaoyu, who possessed a primordial Taoist talisman, LV Xian's 4,900-year lifespan was the most impressive talent Guan had seen among the human race. LV Xian didn't seem injured. Perhaps he cultivated some miraculous skill like Wuxia? Sun De, Sun Air, and Sun Sen rushed to Guan, very happy because Guan always brought them tasty treats. Although they were demons captured by Luo Han, Guan never belittled them, so they had a good relationship. "These are 5th-tier spirit fruits, you can only eat one each, don't fight over them." Guan took out 3 large, crimson fruits the size of watermelons, and placed them on the ground for the 3 monkey demons to pick. He then walked towards an area of the valley. Today was another harvesting day. With his medicine valley expanding, he now had the opportunity to pick herbs daily, which he thoroughly enjoyed. After he finished harvesting, Yi Luyan and LV Xian also stopped sparring and landed. Yi Luyan began evaluating LV Xian's performance, and LV Xian remained humble. "Senior Yi, when are you going to undergo tribulation?" "I'm waiting for you to challenge Sword Venerable Fudao," LV Xian asked expectantly. He spoke seriously, as if he truly believed Yi Luyan could defeat the Sword Venerable. Yi Luyan hesitated and said, "At most half a year. When the time comes, I will go to the Tribulation Crossing Valley of the Supreme Sect to undergo tribulation. As for challenging the Sword Venerable Fudao, let's talk about it later." Ever since he visited the Heavenly Repair platform, he had given up the idea of competing with Sword Venerable Fudao. The gap was too great. Facing such sword intent, he couldn't muster any fighting spirit. LV Xian raised his eyebrows, his delicate face showing anticipation. He continued to persuade. "Give it a try, what if you win? Once you reach the Void Crossing Realm, your sword intent will naturally transform. You might have the strength to fight, and being the first to challenge Sword Venerable Fudao. Even if you lose, you'll become famous." Passing by, Guan wanted to retort. LV Xian really had a problem. Ever since he came to Tianya Valley, he had been persuading Luo Han to challenge the Supreme Sect's top gun, and urging the 3 monkey demons to challenge the nearby 3rd-tier Great Demon. It wasn't occasionally. Whenever he encountered someone, he would persuade them. If this guy truly loved fighting, Liu would have heard of him long ago. "I'll think about it." Yi Luyan frowned. LV Xian saw Guan and immediately approached, warmly putting his arm around Gu An's shoulder, smiling. "Valley Master, I feel you're not ordinary either. Do you want to strive for the position of National Master? I can teach you spells. Just say what you want to learn. Guan replied. I've said many times, I don't want to strive for anything. I just want to grow flowers and plants. How is that possible? As long as you're human, you have something you want to strive for. Then what do you want to strive for? Naturally, to be the number one in the world. Then why not spend the time you use to persuade others on cultivating? I don't need to cultivate. Sooner or later, it'll be invincible. You're impressive then. What a bragger. Daring to claim invincibility in front of me? Guan suddenly had an idea and smiled. I heard you want to participate in the 100 races competition. If you can win the championship, I'll learn your spells. Really? Really? I didn't originally plan to participate, but since you said that, wait and see. I'll leave tomorrow. Xian finished speaking and walked towards his house. Guan watched his back, finding him hard to figure out. Luyan walked over and transmitted his voice. Don't provoke him. Ever since he formed his core, he easily falls into dreams during cultivation. Sometimes he dreams of being an emperor, sometimes a sword emperor rampaging the mortal world, and even sometimes a demon emperor. According to him, he can reach the peak of the mortal world in every lifetime. What's wrong with him? Could he be a reincarnated great power? Guan immediately stopped underestimating Xian. Better safe than sorry. This person might indeed have a remarkable background. The next morning, before Guan left, Xian had already departed, making Guan more eager for the 100 races competition. The Hidden Dragon list was a competition for geniuses under 100 years old. Who would be the top among Zhou Tongyu, Ji Xiaoyu, Liya, and Xian? Before Xian returned, Guan decided to elevate his cultivation level to the 9th layer of the unification realm, secretly competing with these geniuses' growth speed. By the time Guan returned to Mystic Valley, it was already noon. He sensed a familiar aura waiting in his loft. Along the way, he greeted Wuxia and then went upstairs. Entering the house, Guan saw Yilan sitting at his desk, holding a book. Oh no! Guan closed the door and walked to the desk to take the book from her hand. He said seriously, how can a lady read this kind of book? Ever since the outer sex disaster, Yilan rarely visited him, spending most of her time training outside. Now she had been promoted to a deacon in the law enforcement hall, holding a certain position and power. Yilan looked at Guan and smiled. I heard from Zhenqin that you usually love reading this Green Hero travelogue, so I wanted to see what kind of book you like. I don't know about that Supreme Secret Records. But don't listen to Zhenqin's nonsense. It's a slander. The Green Hero travelogue was left by my master. I haven't read it nor destroyed it, just kept it as a memento. Really? When has your senior brother ever lied to you? Humph. Yilan took out a book from her storage bag and threw it on the table. Guan glanced at it, and his eyelid twitched wildly. Supreme Secret Records. Oh no, how did this book become so popular? Yilan looked at Guan and said softly, Senior brother, I used to think it was a coincidence when I saw the protagonist named Guan. But now, after flipping through the Green Hero travelogue, I feel it's not a coincidence. Tell me honestly, did you write the Supreme Secret Records? How is that possible? I don't write books. I only love growing flowers and plants. Het, do you think he'll believe you now? Senior brother, it's not that I'm telling you off, but if you want to read, couldn't you read something like Investiture of the Gods or Supreme Immortal Venerable? They're better than these kinds of books that disturb your Taoist heart. I really didn't write it. Guan felt so wronged, it was all Shinzhen's fault. Yilan suddenly stood up, scaring him into taking a step back. She circled around the table, approached him, and raised her right hand. Going to hit me? Guan felt a headache. Luckily, Yilan didn't intend to hit him but to straighten his robe. She slightly lowered her head and said softly, Senior brother, if you do like this kind of thing, I can find the dual cultivation method and accompany you. Guan saw her ears turning red. He quickly stepped back and shook off her hand, saying seriously, Junior sister, don't joke around. If you keep joking, Yilan looked up at him, burst out laughing, and covered her mouth. Look at you, acting like I'm a flood or beast. All right, no more joking. I came because of another matter, concerning your disciple, Su Han. Yilan said seriously, her smile fading. Guan frowned and asked, "What's wrong with him? Do you know his ancestral swordsmanship called Hateful Heaven Divine Sword? Am somewhat familiar. Is there a problem with this swordsmanship?" "Yes, it's not his ancestral swordsmanship but a forbidden swordsmanship of the sword sect of the Great Yu dynasty, not to be passed on. Su-Han frequently used the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword to kill enemies during his training outside. Eventually, someone recognized this swordsmanship, causing quite a stir. It's said that the sword sect is preparing to capture Su-Han." "That bad?" Guan was shocked. Could Su-Han, with his talent, cause such a commotion like a novel's protagonist? Yilan nodded and said, "I've hidden Su-Han in the law enforcement hall, but if the sword sect comes, the law enforcement hall won't be able to protect him. After all, they are also a great sect, and the supreme sect won't offend the sword sect for an outer disciple." Guan thought for a moment and said, "I'll try to come up with something." Yilan comforted him, saying, "If you're afraid of trouble, just ignore him. You can't protect him forever. I'm telling you because I don't know his significance to you, and fear you might regret it later." Guan nodded and praised Yilan for being considerate. Yilan didn't stay long. After she left, Guan transported himself to the Third Medicine Valley and went to visit Shenzhen. Since Shenzhen ruined his reputation, she had to help. Shenzhen had invited him to her cave before, so he knew how to find her. A stick of incense time later, Guan entered Shenzhen's cave. "What a rare guest. It's not often you come to me voluntarily," Shenzhen smiled. In her cave, she wasn't wearing a veil, revealing a stunningly beautiful face, sweet and charming. She was holding a brush dipped in ink, and when Guan looked up, he saw the walls covered with paper sheets. This woman, was she drawing? Guan quickly looked away and said, "My disciple has encountered a problem involving the sword sect of the Great Yu dynasty. Can you help?" "Sword sect? No problem, they must give face to our Daotian sect," Shenzhen said boldly. Guan then recounted the situation in detail. Shenzhen frowned and hesitated, saying, "It seems there's a bit of an issue." Chapter 73. Perhaps you are a genius. Mad swordsman wants to pass on magic. Is there a problem? Guan couldn't help but roll his eyes and said helplessly, "Next time, wait until I finish speaking before making a decision. Aren't you giving me hope only to extinguish it with your own hands?" Shenzhen shook her head and said, "The problem doesn't come from the sword sect, but from the Daotian sect. The Hateful Heaven Divine Sword is not just a forbidden swordsmanship of the sword sect. It is a forbidden technique throughout the Great Yu dynasty. Every time the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword appears, there will be a bloody storm. 100 years ago, someone mastered the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword and killed tens of thousands of people. He was severely injured by our sect's elders and eventually fled the Great Yu dynasty. The Hateful Heaven Divine Sword is a swordsmanship that can break through heavenly destiny. The stronger the hatred, the stronger the sword intent. Even someone with mediocre talent can break through the limitations of their spirit roots as long as their hatred is intense enough. However, as the realm gets higher and the hatred deepens, it is easy to deviate and become a demon that only knows killing. Hence, the sword sect forbids anyone from practicing it." Hearing this, Guan couldn't help but ask, "In that case, why did the sword sect create such swordsmanship?" "It was created by a genius from the sword sect. Since he was from the sword sect, the sword sect naturally has the responsibility to handle this matter. They have destroyed all the sword manuals, but the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword keeps appearing. Perhaps that person scattered the sword manuals throughout the immortal cultivation world before he died," Shenzhen answered. Guan frowned. Would practicing this swordsmanship lead to madness in the end? If that were true, Guan couldn't let Su-Han continue. He couldn't favor his disciple at the cost of bringing calamity to the immortal cultivation world. Shenzhen spoke earnestly. "The various sects of the Great Yu dynasty all resist the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword. If you insist on protecting him, it will only bring endless trouble. There is another way. Make him discard the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword in front of the sword sect. But discarding the swordsmanship isn't just a matter of forgetting it. It requires abolishing his meridians and spirit root, turning him into a mortal." Guan nodded and said, "I understand." He didn't say any more, bowed to Shenzhen, and then left. Shenzhen watched his departing figure, slightly shaking her head, not advising further. She believed what she had said was clear enough. The next day at noon, Guan arrived at the outer sex city. Last night, he invested 100 years of his lifespan from 10,000 miles away, significantly increasing his cultivation. The trouble caused by Su Han made him increase his daily lifespan investment, striving to reach the 9th layer of the unification realm as soon as possible. On the way to the Yilan mansion, Guan was contemplating the matter of Su Han. Su Han was his disciple. He had to help, but he couldn't help irrationally. Moreover, judging from Shenzhen's words, practicing the hateful heaven divine sword was not good for Su Han. It would eventually lead to madness. It was a painful path. Thinking it over, Guan decided to let Su Han choose for himself. He could only help him once at most. At the same time, he was pondering another issue. If he invested 10,000 years of his lifespan in the hateful heaven divine sword, could he research a way to improve it, so that it no longer led to deviation? But that was a matter for the future. Even if he created it now, the sword sect wouldn't believe him. He couldn't demonstrate it himself, could he? He wouldn't fully expose himself for Su Han. Though they had the title of master and disciple, he didn't know Su Han anything. An hour later, Guan and Yilan walked out from the law enforcement hall's gate. Since he is determined, brother, you shouldn't interfere anymore. No one in this world should be responsible for another person's life entirely. I will arrange for him to leave the supreme sect quietly, Yilan said. Guan nodded. He had negotiated with Su Han for a long time, but Su Han refused to give up the hateful heaven divine sword. Even if Guan promised he wouldn't have to abolish his cultivation, Su Han still wouldn't give up. Su Han said that the hateful heaven divine sword was passed down by his father. It was the only connection between them, and he wanted to use it to avenge his father. After such a declaration, Guan could only give up. Thank you for your trouble. Guan nodded to Yilan. After a brief conversation, Guan left. Walking on the street, watching the bustling crowd, Guan felt quite emotional. Lu Jiujia had strayed from the righteous path for his own way and ended up crippled, now only able to cultivate the Taoist expansion skill in Mystic Valley with Wuxia, hoping for a chance to rise again. Su Han pursued revenge, willing to be at odds with the immortal cultivation world without regret. Guan was strong, but he couldn't decide the paths of everyone around him, nor could he change their thoughts. The mortal world was full of entanglements, all because of grudges and emotions. As Guan pondered, he seemed to gain an understanding, entering a marvelous state. Unknowingly, he arrived at the heavenly repair platform. He accidentally bumped into someone, quickly coming back to his senses. Sorry. Guan quickly apologized, filled with surprise. It was his first time falling into such an engrossed state. He hadn't encountered such a state when inheriting cultivation techniques or spells before. Recalling it, he couldn't explain it clearly, but he felt a slight change within himself. Were you comprehending the path just now? The person Guan bumped into suddenly asked. Guan looked at him. It was a man in green clothes, with a weathered face, carrying a sword box with 3 sword hilts protruding from the top. Guan instinctively used lifespan detection. Hanming, 5th level of Void Crossing Realm 587/1902/2780. This person also cultivated the energy concealing technique. The immortal cultivation world was full of tricksters. Guan asked in surprise, "What is path enlightenment?" "I was just thinking about something." He thought to himself, it's better not to think about things while walking in the future. It might cause trouble. Hanming fixed his gaze on him and said, "Path enlightenment is indeed thinking about something. In deep contemplation, one resonates with nature and the universe, entering a marvelous state. You don't need to apologize. I deliberately blocked your way. If you continued forward, you would have bumped into those great cultivators." Is path enlightenment amazing? But I didn't feel any change in my cultivation level. Guan asked, half true and half false. He pretended to be ignorant, but in reality, he didn't understand path enlightenment. Hanming turned around, looking at the words righteous path in the distance, and said, "Path enlightenment is very rare. It cannot be taught or predicted. relying entirely on one's comprehension and blessing. Some break through realms through path enlightenment, some create astonishing ultimate skills through it. I once comprehended the path and created my own swordsmanship. Although I don't know what you were comprehending, you will feel its benefits in the future. Thank you for your guidance, Senior. May I ask your name? Guan raised his hand and asked respectfully. Han Ming answered. I am Han Ming from the Great Yu Dynasty. I came specifically to challenge Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Hearing this, Guan couldn't help but ask, how does Senior plan to challenge? Han Ming gathered his breath and suddenly shouted. I am Han Ming, a sword cultivator from the Great Yu Dynasty. I have come to challenge Sword Venerable Fu Dao's Sword Dao. 1 month from now, I will have a sword competition outside the city. If Sword Venerable Fu Dao wins, I am willing to carve my Sword Dao on the city walls for the disciples of the Supreme Sect to cultivate. If Sword Venerable Fu Dao loses or doesn't dare to come, I will add 2 more words next to the righteous path. This voice was earth-shattering, echoing throughout the city and spreading far, reaching even the disciples of the Third Medicine Valley, who all looked up. Countless gazes from the heavenly repair platform focused on Han Ming. Guan instinctively retreated, not wanting to be associated with Han Ming. However, Han Ming walked towards Guan. Don't come over. Guan was very helpless. Young friend, may I invite you to your residence to discuss path enlightenment? We can exchange enlightenment experiences. To be honest, I also want to comprehend the path again. Regardless of success, I will teach you my swordsmanship. Han Ming asked with a kind smile. In the distance, Zuolin, meditating beside Zuijian, saw Guan and his eyes lit up. With his cultivation level, he could naturally hear Han Ming's words. Indeed, this kid is not simple. My previous intuition was correct. Zuolin wanted to get up but was held back by Zuijian. Don't go looking for trouble. That Han Ming is not simple. He once killed a great cultivator in the divinity transformation realm with the cultivation of the nascent soul realm, shaking the world, and is known as the Mad Swordsman, Zuijian said in a deep voice, staring at Han Ming with sharp eyes. Zuolin was stunned upon hearing this. Under the gazes of many, Guan could hardly refuse and nodded, then quickly left, followed closely by Han Ming. The cultivators on the heavenly repair platform started discussing Han Ming's name, and many had heard of him. His deeds began to spread quickly. The elders in the void-crossing realm on the platform just glanced at Han Ming without stopping him. Guan thought for a moment and decided to take Han Ming to the Third Medicine Valley, curious to see what would happen when Han Ming met Elder Tian. In silence, Han Ming followed Guan, not knowing what he was thinking. When they reached the Third Medicine Valley, Han Ming couldn't help but ask, does this 100-mile area belong to you? Yes, why? Guan asked back. Han Ming was silent for a moment, then said emotionally, I wanted to take you as my disciple, but seeing such a vast medicine garden means the Supreme Sect values you highly. I can't help but feel a bit disappointed. You just challenged me and now want to take me as a disciple? Guan complained in his heart but smiled and said, Thank you for your kindness, Senior. I don't like fighting and killing or pursuing high cultivation levels, so I won't be your disciple. As they landed, attracting the attention of many disciples. In the distance, Elder Tian, napping under a tree, opened his eyes. Seeing Han Ming, his expression changed slightly, clearly recognizing him. Han Ming, however, didn't recognize him. They went upstairs and sat down. Han Ming began to talk about his path enlightenment process, and Guan listened attentively. Han Ming comprehended the path at the age of 200. At that time, he couldn't break through to the 9th layer of the core formation realm, and thought his life would end there. He sat under a waterfall in a low mood for 7 days and nights. Then he enlightened the path. After one night, his sword heart enlightened, and his sword intent transformed. Listening to his words, Guan thought about the extreme lifespan concept. He wondered if path enlightenment could change the extreme lifespan. So far, Guan hadn't seen anyone break through the extreme lifespan, although current lifespan often changed. Cultivators of different realms had their current lifespan increase with higher realms, but each major realm didn't have a standard lifespan limit, since lifespan was related to state, cultivation techniques, natural treasures, and so on. like Li Xiandao, clearly in the divinity transformation realm, but some in the nascent soul realm had similar lifespans as him. Or Ji Xiaoyu, who had over 800 years of lifespan in the 9th layer of foundation establishment, comparable to Li Xiandao in the 8th layer of the divinity transformation realm. If a person was seriously injured, their lifespan would change accordingly, like Elder Tian and Lu Jujia. People weren't just data, their values weren't fixed. He could only observe more. After Han Ming finished, he asked Guan to talk about his path enlightenment experience. This time, Guan didn't hide anything and honestly shared his worries, only leaving out the hateful heaven divine sword. When he finished, Han Ming pondered and said, "Worrying about your disciples' safety, realizing you can't control others' destinies. That's your path enlightenment. You might be a genius. In a month, I will compete in a sword contest with Sword Venerable Fu Dao, and I might die. How about I teach you all my sword Dao within this month? What do you think?" Chapter 74. Breaking through the 9th layer of the unification realm sword transmission? Guan instinctively resisted. He had already mastered the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword, with Spirit Sword technique, and even the hateful Heaven Divine Sword existed on his panel. There was no need to waste time and lifespan practicing other swordsmanship. After all, he could promote and upgrade his sword techniques through lifespan deduction. Why bother learning so many? Guan pretended to be in difficulty. "Senior, I am not interested in sword Dao. To be precise, I am not interested in combat techniques at all. I don't even practice much in my daily life. Cultivating flowers and plants is my interest." Han Ming was momentarily stunned and then frowned. Guan pretended to be panicked, explaining, "Senior, I did not mean to disrespect you. You can go out and ask around. All the disciples in the valley know my character. My spirit root qualification is limited, and rather than wasting my limited lifespan on the illusory goal of immortality, I might as well live comfortably and enjoy my 200 years. Han Ming looked at him in silence. Guan did not say more. Could he possibly beg him not to teach? After a while, Han Ming sighed and said, "I finally understand why you easily comprehend the path. Your mindset has surpassed most cultivators. You have let go of obsessions and appreciate the myriad phenomena of the mortal world. Perhaps this makes it easier to perceive the true meaning of heaven and earth." The two continued discussing the Tao. Han Ming no longer insisted on teaching swordsmanship. They talked for a full day and night before Han Ming left. He planned to wander in the Supreme Sect to find a suitable inheritor. Guan then recommended someone, Zhuo Lin. Coincidentally, Han Ming also knew Zhuo Yijian, so he agreed to assess Zhuo Lin. After he left, Guan began patrolling the 3rd Medicine Valley. Elder Tian caught up, curiously asking, "Valley Master, that cultivator just now didn't seem ordinary, but his attire clearly indicated he was from the Great Yu dynasty. What was he looking for?" "He wanted to take me as his disciple and transmit his sword Dao to me." "Did you agree?" "How could I? If I agreed, wouldn't that be a betrayal of the Supreme Sect? Although my strength is lacking, I am loyal to the Supreme Sect." Guan casually dismissed the idea, speaking so nonchalantly that Elder Tian could feel his sincerity. He didn't think Guan was acting. He had been in this Medicine Valley for many years, and Guan always took his tasks seriously, treating servant disciples earnestly. Apart from not loving cultivation, Elder Tian couldn't find a flaw in Guan. Elder Tian began to accompany Guan on patrol, inspecting the medicinal herbs along the way, as they chatted sporadically. During this time, Guan inquired about Elder Tian's views on the master-disciple relationship. Elder Tian had lived for over 700 years. Guan was interested in his life insights. Though he might not necessarily follow them, listening was always beneficial. Meanwhile, the news of Han Ming, the mad swordsman of Great Yu, challenging Sword Venerable Fu Dao spread quickly through the Supreme Sect's cities, sparking anticipation among everyone who heard it. Han Ming was a renowned sword cultivator, while Sword Venerable Fu Dao was the most famous cultivator of the Supreme Sect at present. Who wouldn't want to watch their sword competition? Most importantly, the disciples of the Supreme Sect also wanted to witness the true appearance and grace of Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Half a month later, when Guan arrived at Tianya Valley, He heard Luo Han and Yi Luyan discussing this matter. This made Guan start to hesitate. Originally, he did not intend to participate. After all, the Supreme Sect had plenty of experts, and they would never allow Han Ming to destroy the heavenly repair platform. But now that the matter had escalated so much, if he did not go, wouldn't it tarnish his own reputation? No way. He needed to speed up his path to strength. Han Ming was a genius who killed enemies across realms. With his cultivation level at the first level of the unification realm, and his ability to control a sword from afar, what if things went wrong? He had to reach the 9th level of the unification realm in advance. Seeing that Han Ming seemed like a decent person, Guan decided to give him a thorough defeat. Maybe Han Ming would have another epiphany after losing. In the dead of night, Guan kept flashing through the forest, covering 100 miles with each step. He was quickly distancing himself from the Supreme Sect, using the infinite traceless mystic heaven step. He felt guilty about constantly drawing on the Supreme Sect's spiritual energy. This time, he decided to break through in a place rarely visited by people. He aimed to break through to the 9th level of the unification realm in one go. Alas, the world was unpredictable. There were always interruptions to his plans and his pace of becoming stronger. After traveling nearly 20,000 miles, Guan finally stopped. Here, deep in the mountains, the forest was filled with dense demon energy and ghost energy. Guan sat down to meditate under a tree, immediately activating the lifespan barrier. He couldn't walk any further. Who knew where he might end up? Guan began investing 1,000 years of lifespan into his cultivation, successfully reaching the 2nd level of the unification realm, with Earth spirit energy pouring into him. After that, he continued to invest another 1,000 years of lifespan. 1,000 years after another. By the time he reached the 9th level of the unification realm, he had invested a total of 18,000 years of lifespan. After reaching the 5th level, each level required 3,000 years of lifespan to break through, which was related to the spiritual energy in his environment. It was acceptable to him, considering that advancing from the 9th level of the Void Crossing realm to the 1st level of the unification realm had cost him over 12,000 years. Seeing that he still had over 200,000 years of lifespan left, Guan felt joyful and began to enjoy the elevation of his realm. The forest trembled, and strong winds blew from all directions. Green waves of chi arose from the ground beneath him. Roar! A deafening roar resounded from afar. It was a demon beast howling. Guan was secretly alarmed. The aura of this demon beast was no weaker than the divinity transformation realm. Such a terrifying demon creature was hidden in this area. Fortunately, he hadn't come this far for his previous breakthroughs, lest he be eaten by a demon monster, which would have been extremely unfortunate. Soon, more demon beasts began to howl, one after another, their voices growing in number. The combined roars seemed to be capable of overturning the night sky. The night sky was filled with swirling dark clouds, obscuring the stars and the moon, making it unclear whether it was clouds or demon energy. At that moment, Guan felt as if he were in a demon domain or a magic realm. The howls and cries of demons and monsters surrounded him from all sides, chilling and horrifying. The forest ahead shook violently, as if it might uproot at any moment. In the darkness behind the mountains, a colossal mountain began to move. With his sharp vision, Guan could see it was a giant demon, at least 300 feet high, resembling a turtle carrying a mountain on its back. As it moved forward, dust flew everywhere. Guan saw numerous wandering ghosts circling around the mountain, like a following army. No wonder the Taitsong dynasty couldn't eradicate all the demons and ghosts in the world despite having cultivators. Along the way, Guan's divine sense had picked up the sounds of villagers in the mountains, confirming he hadn't yet left the Taitsong dynasty. The Taitsong dynasty was vast, seemingly even larger than Earth in his previous life. With such expansive territory, it was teeming with countless demons and ghostly creatures. The other 8 dynasties were probably not much smaller than the Taitsong dynasty, but as Shenzhen said, the lands of the 9 dynasties together only occupied a small corner of this continent. This world was indeed immeasurably vast. Inexhaustible earth spirit energy flowed into Guan's body, continuously enhancing his cultivation. No wonder advancing from the first to the 9th level of the unification realm had consumed 18,000 years of lifespan. The amount of spiritual energy required for this process was enormous. Guan suspected that this disturbance would affect an area of tens of thousands of miles, possibly even impacting the Supreme Sect. The 9th level of the unification realm was already like this. If he aimed for higher realms, would he alarm the entire dynasty? The main issue was compressing the spiritual energy absorbed over 18,000 years into a short time span, drawing an immense amount of spiritual energy. Once the spiritual energy in this area was depleted, he would have to draw from other places, as heaven and earth also needed time to replenish it. Whatever. He thought he would break through first and talk later. Nobody could stop him from becoming stronger. Guan closed his eyes, ignoring the disturbances around him. In a spacious cave, the firelight flickered violently, casting the shadow of a large cauldron on the walls. It was a large iron cauldron, over a yard in diameter, with a blazing fire underneath. The soup inside was boiling, with white bones bobbing up and down. 2 human children were tied up against the cave wall. They appeared to be about 12 or 13 years old, a boy and a girl. The boy was rubbing the hemp rope on his wrists against a protruding rock, his wrists bleeding profusely, but he didn't frown. His actions only became faster, barely showing the white bones of his joints. The girl knelt on the ground beside him, nervously watching the cave entrance, as if terrified of something. The cave shook violently, and a horrifying demon wind blew in from outside, as if numerous demons were crying out, making their scalps tingle. The extreme terror turned their lips white, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Finally, the boy managed to break the rope binding his wrists. He quickly removed the ropes from his body, and then turned to untie the girl. However, the girl's ropes were tied too tightly, and with his lack of strength he couldn't loosen them. Ugh! A deep, resonant breathing sound came from outside the cave, resembling the croaking of a toad. The boy's movements stopped abruptly, a look of despair in his eyes. He looked toward the curved path ahead and saw a huge, bloated shadow appearing on the cave wall. The 2 children's faces turned pale at once. Suddenly, the bloated shadow seemed to be pulled away by something and disappeared in an instant. Soon after, the sound of crisp, loud chewing came from outside the cave. The boy leaned against the wall, quickly covering his mouth, afraid to make even the slightest noise. The bound girl closed her eyes tighter, not daring to look at the cave entrance. The earth spirit energy sank, causing the demons to flee in all directions. The night was destined to be anything but peaceful. 2 hours later, Guan reached the 6th level of the unification realm. He predicted it would be dawn by the time he reached the 9th level. Compared to his previous breakthroughs, the speed at which he absorbed spiritual energy had increased several times, yet the breakthrough time had still lengthened. Normal cultivators in the unification realm never made such a large commotion while breaking through because they accumulated energy slowly and did not devour the spiritual energy required for future centuries and millenniums in a short time. Guan waited patiently. Time passed quickly. As dawn broke, the first ray of sunlight pierced the sky. The sky was full of demon clouds, and the forest was shrouded in demon energy, like a dense fog. Guan sat beneath the tree in meditation, and suddenly opened his eyes. The 9th level of the unification realm, complete. Reaching this level, he clearly felt a significant enhancement in his divine sense and senses, even feeling his heart-condensing spiritual power, as though something was about to grow. The rate at which he devoured earth spirit energy began to slow down. Guan felt 100 times stronger compared to before. The 9th level of the unification realm was not something the 1st level could compare to. Guan didn't believe any cultivator at the 1st level of the unification realm could kill him across realms. At that thought, he broke into a cold sweat. Almost ruined his Taoist heart. He couldn't think this way. Those who were killed across realms probably had this kind of mindset. He couldn't underestimate anyone and had to be mentally prepared for the possibility of being ambushed. Only then could he give it his all. Chapter 75. Exaggerated Limit Lifespan. Guan takes a disciple once his cultivation level was completely stabilized. Guan closed the lifespan barrier. This time the lifespan barrier consumed over 8,000 years. At this rate, activating the lifespan barrier would sooner or later become a huge expenditure. He still needed to work hard to earn more lifespan. Although he appeared wealthy now, if he wanted to make a comprehensive improvement, the lifespan would not be enough. Guan stood up, stretched lazily, and then touched his chest. The unification realm seemed like a transition, unlike the previous stages that had phases, but this transition was a great test of his cultivation accumulation. Guan could feel that the next realm was related to the heart, and the thing condensing on his heart was a sign. It was just that he couldn't determine what it specifically would be for now. He began to move forward. It was still the infinite traceless mystic heaven step, and he moved continuously, covering hundreds of miles with each step. Meanwhile, he spread out his divine sense, carefully feeling the differences in the 9 layers of the unification realm. Suddenly, Guan stopped walking, his eyes turned in one direction, and his brows furrowed slightly. He hesitated for a moment, but still moved towards that direction. By a small river in the mountains, a boy covered in blood and mud stood in front of a mountain wall. He held a large stone in his hand, and behind him stood a girl in a similar state of disarray, looking at the front in terror. On the opposite side of the river, a 2-zhang-tall wolf demon emerged from the forest. It walked upright, its deep black fur glistening. Despite the morning light, its eyes shone with a terrifying gleam. The wolf demon opened its mouth, exhaling a thick breath while staring fixedly at the two in front. The boy trembled in fear but still bravely took a step forward. Neither of them noticed a figure appearing on the mountaintop behind them. It was Guan. Guan had temporarily changed into a white robe and wore a specially made mask. This was something he crafted in his spare time, containing restrictions to isolate divine sense probing. The breeze blew Guan's robe as he looked at the two people below, casting a lifespan detection upon them. Gooden, non-rank 12/99/9999. Little Flower, non-rank 12/78/230. A lifespan limit of 9,999 years? Guan doubted his eyes. This broke Ji Xiaoyu's record among the human race. Could it be that this boy also had a primordial Taoist talisman within him? At that moment, the wolf demon suddenly pounced on the boy named Gooden. Guan waved his hand, and a beam of sword chi fell between the wolf demon and Gooden. Stones flew and water splashed, terrifying the wolf demon into immediate retreat, turning around and fleeing. Dust blew in their faces, causing Gooden to shut his eyes and cough. When the dust settled, he opened his eyes wide to see a half-zhang wide, 100-zhang long crack by the riverbank as if slashed by a giant sword. Footsteps came from the side, frightening Gooden into a shudder. He turned around quickly and saw Guan. Although Guan appeared human, the mask he wore led Gooden to retain his grip on the stone. "Are you a human, or a demon?" Gooden cautiously asked, his voice weak and still trembling. Guan spoke, "Naturally human, otherwise why would I save you?" He changed his voice to sound old and weary, as if in his 40s or 50s. Upon hearing this, Gooden let out a sigh of relief but did not put down the stone, making Guan's eyes flash with admiration. "Where is your home? I will take you back." Guan continued. Gooden fell silent immediately upon hearing this. At this moment, Little Flower behind him suddenly burst into tears. "My parents were eaten by the demon," she said intermittently, sobbing. Her emotional outburst made Gooden's eyes turn red as well. Then Gooden recounted their experiences. A group of demons attacked their village, devouring all the adults and taking the children to this area. They saw their companions turned into soup every day. Last night, it was supposed to be their turn, but the mountain suddenly shook, and the demon guards ran out. At dawn, they escaped the cave but found no trace of the demons and started fleeing. Not long after, they were targeted by the wolf demon on its way. Guan listened in silence. It was his first true encounter with the hardships of the mortal world. He was born in the Ji family, never experiencing the threat of demons, and later went to the Supreme Sect, smoothly advancing by seizing lifespan. Compared to him, these two children had it incredibly tough. Guan felt a sense of compassion, but Gooden's exaggerated lifespan prevented him from taking them back. Such an extreme lifespan, if they pursued immortal cultivation, would definitely bring endless troubles. Guan even suspected that Guden possessed a great fortune. Thus, his entire family perished except for him. Just as he was about to be eaten, Guan broke through this area. Just as the wolf demon was about to catch him, Guan saved him. All these coincidences coming together meant it was no coincidence. A child of fate? Seeing that these two were already orphans with no kin to rely on, Guan couldn't bear it. After thinking it over, Guan decided to first take them to a safe place. He appeared behind Guden in a single step, picked him up, then went to Little Flower and lifted her as well, moving quickly. Frightened by his movement technique, they stopped crying and stiffened. After 10 breaths of time, in a forest, Guan stopped and gently placed them on the ground. He took out a bottle of elixir from his storage bag and poured half into each of their mouths. The sudden feeding made them choke, but as the elixir went down their throats, they felt a warm flow spreading through their meridians, which was a wonderful sensation. They opened their eyes wide in disbelief. Guan then sat down cross-legged before them and asked, "Do you want to cultivate immortality?" He dared not take Guden back directly but could teach them the cultivation method, and let them someday join the Supreme Sect on their own, keeping it unrelated to him. He intended to send the Supreme Sect a top-tier genius, compensating for multiple offenses of drawing spiritual energy over the years. "Are you an immortal?" Guden exclaimed, his face full of excitement. "I am not. I am merely striving to be an immortal. Since you have nowhere to go now, I shall teach you the cultivation method. In the future, you can join the Supreme Sect, finding a home there." Guan replied, still using the altered voice to avoid being recognized later at the Supreme Sect. Guden nodded eagerly, even kowtowing to Guan, calling him master. He turned to the dazed Little Flower, pressing her head downward. "Call him master." Little Flower instinctively called, "Master." Guan initially wanted to refuse, but seeing their hopeful faces he couldn't. Damned. Was this the effect of great fortune? Guan felt it wasn't his compassion, but Guden's fortune influencing him. Immortal cultivation emphasized fortune and karma, trusting in those intangible existences. "Fine, now I will teach you the mental method formula. Listen carefully and remember it well," Guan said seriously. The two immediately sat upright, focused on him, fearing he would get angry. Guan passed on his Yangwood primordial skill to them. He wasn't afraid Guden would fully comprehend it. Even with 1,000,000 years of lifespan, continuous improvement would be necessary. Honestly, he also wanted to see how far Guden could develop the Yangwood primordial skill. So far, he wasn't sure what tier his cultivation techniques and ultimate skills ranked within the immortal cultivation world. Time flew by quickly. Guan spent half a day teaching, mainly to Little Flower. He taught the first layer of the mental method. Guden memorized it after hearing it once. The extreme lifespan indeed didn't lie. Guan let Guden go to the side and cultivate while he instructed Little Flower alone. "Master, I feel something inside my body. Is it spiritual power?" By afternoon, as Little Flower pondered carefully, Guden suddenly shouted in excitement nearby. Little Flower, hearing this, opened her eyes wide in disbelief, followed by a look of gloom. Guan calmly said, "Don't make a fuss. Where are your manners? Do you want to attract demons?" Guden quickly shut his mouth. As night approached, Little Flower finally memorized the first layer of the Yangwood primordial skills mental method. Another night passed. Guden had already fully embarked on the path of immortal cultivation, while Little Flower had yet to cultivate any spiritual power. Typically, with a 5-spirit root qualification, it took a month to cultivate spiritual power, so Guan wasn't disappointed with Little Flower. At dawn, Guan prepared to leave. "Guden, I am going out. I will return by evening. Take good care of your junior sister," Guan instructed. Guden opened his eyes and quickly stood up, nervously asking, "Master, will you really come back? Don't leave us. I promise not to shout anymore." Little Flower also opened her eyes upon hearing this, stood up, and rushed over, holding Guan's waist to prevent him from leaving. Guan found it amusing but maintained a stern tone. "I am going to slay demons. Do you want to burden your master by coming along?" Hearing this, Little Flower immediately let go. Gooden's eyes darted, and he said, "Master, we are also cultivating immortality now. How about giving us new names?" He believed that having new names was significant, and being named by their master would strengthen the relationship. Guen hesitated for a moment. He raised his right hand, pointing his finger towards the ground, inscribing words with sword chi. Gooden quickly ran over to watch by his side. Although from a mountain village, a teacher there had taught them, so he could barely recognize the words. After Guen finished writing, Gooden couldn't help asking, And what? Master, what's the last word? Your name is in how? How means sky, hoping you could become the sky for your junior sister, and pave your own path to the heavens. As for Little Flower, her name is now an Exian. I hope she can live in peace and be content with what she has. Guen said calmly and disappeared into thin air after speaking. Renamed in how, Gooden looked up, already unable to see Guan's figure. He immediately squatted down, gazing at his new name, muttering, "And how?" He seemed intent on remembering the word how. An Exian squatted beside him, accompanying him and looking at the words on the ground. On the other side, Guen hurried towards the Supreme Sect. When he returned to Mystic Valley, Wuxia was still leading disciples in training. He walked from the valley entrance and saw many cultivators flying across the sky. Evidently, the disturbance the previous night had alerted the Supreme Sect. Chapter 76. The World Watches. What is a sword cultivator? Seeing Guen walk towards the valley entrance, Wuxia quickly ran over. Lu Jiujia was also practicing with the servant disciples. Now he was Wuxian's right-hand man. He merely looked at Guen from a distance without approaching. Even though it had been several years since his return, Lu Jiujia still did not dare face Guen. Whenever he could avoid seeing him, he would, because he felt he had let Guen down. Guen had given him so many elixirs, yet he had strayed onto the wrong path and ultimately became a cripple. Every time he thought about it now, he felt regret. He even felt that he deserved his fate. After all, he had indeed committed many wrongdoings in the Demon Extermination Hall, and deserved the punishment. Guen did not specifically try to guide Lu Jiujia. This allowed the young man to reflect and contemplate. Senior brother, last night there was another incident of spiritual energy descending. Although it wasn't as severe as the previous times, you still need to be careful when you go out. Wuxia came up to Guen and reminded him. Guen nodded and said, I felt it too, which is why I came back. How's the situation in the Medicine Valley? It wasn't affected. By the way, senior brother, are you going to watch the duel between the Mad Swordsman of Great Yu and Sword Venerable Fudao? Has Sword Venerable Fudao agreed to participate? No, but the rumors are rampant, and Sword Venerable Fudao should show up. As they chatted, they walked towards the pavilion. Currently, the Mystic Valley had recruited another batch of servant disciples. These disciples frequently looked at Guen as they practiced. They were very curious about the true master of the valley. It was said that every few years, an outer disciple would emerge from this Medicine Valley. How could they not look forward to it? After chatting with Wuxia for a few moments, Guen went upstairs. He planned to make some new clothes for an Hao and an Exian. An hour later, he went to the Third Medicine Valley to inspect his valley. The Third Medicine Valley was vast, and he had to personally check it to avoid any oversights. Even losing one medicinal herb would cost him his lifespan. The disciples in the Third Medicine Valley were also discussing the incident of spiritual energy descending last night. Various speculations were made, and Guen chatted with them briefly. It wasn't until dusk that Guen finally left. The sky was crimson, and the forest was dark. And Hao stood on a tree branch, gazing into the distance, hoping to spot Guen below the tree. An Exian asked nervously, Will Master not come back? He will definitely come back. Master said he would, and he always keeps his word. And Hao said firmly, his tone resolute. In truth, he was unsure himself but tried to appear confident. The thought of Master possibly not returning made him feel wronged and brought him to the verge of tears. But with an Exian below, he absolutely couldn't cry. His father had once told him that boys could cry, but never in front of girls. Suddenly, A hand fell on Enzin's head, startling her into a scream as she instinctively jumped back. And Hao heard it and quickly turned around, only to see the figure he had been waiting for all day. He immediately shouted excitedly, "Master!" He jumped down and rushed towards Guan, hugging his waist just like an Exian had done that morning. Seeing that it was Guan, an Exian also became very excited and rushed over to hug him. Even though they've only known each other for 2 days, Guan had already become irreplaceable in their hearts. Guan placed a hand on each of their heads, gently pushing them away. He softly said, "Train diligently. If you don't train hard, I will leave you behind. If we excel in our training, will you stay?" And Hao asked. Guan took out 2 sets of clothes from his storage bag and said, "Didn't I tell you before? You will eventually go to the Supreme Sect. I won't be with you forever. Once you can protect yourselves, I will leave." Upon hearing this, and Hao's face fell immediately. An Exian bit her lip, her eyes turning red. Ignoring their emotions, Guan handed them the clothes and led them toward the river in the forest. An hour later, and Hao and an Exian had changed into their new clothes and tidied their hair. These two looked like a perfect pair of golden children in their new outfits, which was probably why that demon kept them for last, being reluctant to eat them. Guan decided to spend every night with them from then on. Returning to the Supreme Sect during the day, the area within 1,000 miles had no presence of strong demons, only numerous villages and towns, so it was very safe for them to train here. And so, the days went by. A month passed in a flash. The outer gate city was crowded, and even the mountain areas outside the city gate were filled with cultivators in meditation. Many disciples from the other 7 outer gate cities, 4 inner gate cities, and the main city of the sect came to watch the battle, as well as disciples from other factions. The Supreme Sect did not prevent this from happening, causing the entire immortal cultivation world of the Taizong dynasty to discuss the event. In front of the South City Gate, Han Ming stood proudly. He had his eyes closed, his sword box placed in front of him, and his hands resting on the top of the box, while the warm end of summer wind blew through his robes. Many cultivators stood on the city walls, watching him and discussing. "I wonder if Sword Venerable Fudao will show up. I think it's better if he doesn't. If he does, his true identity will be exposed, causing endless trouble in the future. He will surely come. He is so powerful that even if his true identity is revealed, who could defeat him?" It's said that Sword Venerable Fudao is actually the sect leader. He remains hidden to build another powerful force comparable to the sect leader within the Supreme Sect. I heard the mad swordsman of Great Yu has been surpassing the divinity transformation realm for years. If this fight truly takes place, it will be legendary. Zhuo Lin and his father, Zhuo Yijian, also stood on the city walls, looking down at Han Ming. Zhuo Lin's face was full of worry. He had already taken Han Ming as his master, so he naturally worried about his master's safety. Jiang Qiang and Hu Mo, who had a cultivation level of 9 layers of the divinity transformation realm, stood on top of a huge gourd, also discussing the upcoming battle. Yi Lan stood on the top of a tall building, gazing into the distance towards the South City Gate. The sky was blue, not a cloud in sight, while the mountains outside the city were rugged. There was no sight of Sword Venerable Fudao. Standing beside her were more than a dozen disciples of the Law Enforcement Hall, all her subordinates, including Zhen Qin. They were all very excited. 5 miles away, Shenzhen, wearing a black veil, stood on the top of a treasure pagoda, also watching the South City Gate. His eyes filled with anticipation. This duel between sword cultivators, which had been brewing for a month, had captured the attention of the entire Supreme Sect, and even the immortal cultivation world. Amidst the anticipation of everyone, Han Ming remained patient, keeping his eyes closed. Meanwhile, 15,000 miles away, in a vast forest, Guan was instructing in Hao in sword practice. And Hao had reached the 2nd layer of the energy cultivation realm in just 3 days of energy absorption, and was now at the 3rd layer. Today, Guan started teaching him the techniques of the Taizong Divine Shocking Sword, so that he could have combat skills. Meanwhile, an Exian was still cultivating, concentrating on gathering her first wisp of spiritual power. The difference in their talent was like a chasm. Guan only needed to demonstrate the moves once for and how to remember them, making teaching him very easy. So this is what it's like to mentor a genius. No wonder the great cultivators favored geniuses. He was starting to favor Hao too. While practicing the sword, Hao asked curiously, "Master, what is the name of this sword technique?" He wielded a wooden sword, but even so his sword strokes already produced a sharp wind. Taitsung Divine Shocking Sword. You are the only one who has learned my sword technique. Do not disgrace it in the future. Guan said. Given Hao's talent, he would certainly be revered if he joined the Supreme Sect. Adding that he was the inheritor of Sword Venerable Fudeo's technique would make him even more extraordinary. In the future, the Supreme Sect would have to think twice about oppressing Hao, considering whether it was worth going against Sword Venerable Fudao. Taitsung Divine Shocking Sword. Hao murmured, his eyes shining. He could feel the brilliance of the sword technique. Every time he practiced the moves he had new insights, which made him deeply captivated. The sound of the sword cutting through the wind echoed continuously in the forest. Guan stood to the side, watching quietly. The wooden mask covered his face, preventing Hao from seeing his expression. In the distance, an Exian looked on with envy in her eyes. She also wanted to practice the sword. An hour later, Hao unexpectedly produced sword chi. As he swung the sword chi grazed past Guan and struck the tree trunk behind him, leaving a fine sword mark. After producing sword chi, Hao seemed to have opened his meridians, becoming faster and more fluid in his movements, swift as a startled swan. The spiritual energy in the forest began to converge towards him. Guan watched with a tense mind. What kind of monster is this? He felt he had created a significant upheaval. If he hadn't saved Hao would have been devoured by that demon, and the world would be without such a prodigious talent. He started to feel sorry for the likes of Li Ye, Ji Xiaoyu, LV Xian, Zhou Tongyu, and other peerless talents. Sorry, the position of the world's number one now belongs to my disciple. Guan himself wasn't interested in being the world's number one. Once attaining invincibility in the world, one might face enemies from heaven. He pursued the end of the immortal cultivation path, believing that there were more realms beyond this one. At noon Guan said, "Stop now." Hao immediately withdrew his sword upon hearing this. He was drenched in sweat and panting heavily, but his face was glowing with vitality, and his eyes were bright as torches. "Master, how did I do?" Hao asked with a proud smile. At 12 years old he was beginning to show confidence. Guan said, "You focus too much on the sword in your hand. Remember, the sword is not in your hand but in your heart. Whatever your mind envisions, anything can become a sword. Go pick a leaf." Upon hearing this, Hao scratched his head, then walked over to a tree. Guan motioned for an Exian to come over. Seeing this, an Exian smiled and quickly got up and ran over. "Shiner, you also pick a leaf," Guan said softly. An Exian immediately complied. A few seconds later, the two stood before Guan, curious about what he intended to do. Guan took the leaf from Hao's hand first and said, "A true sword cultivator can demonstrate the power of a divine sword even with an ordinary leaf." He held the leaf between two fingers of his right hand and lightly swiped it toward the distance. The leaf flew out, and Hao and an Exian followed it with their eyes. Boom! A strong wind erupted, messing up their hair. They widened their eyes in disbelief. The leaf suddenly burst forth with terrifying sword chi, shattering the forest in front of them and cutting through the air with unparalleled force, disappearing in an instant. A 10-foot wide clearing appeared in the forest ahead. Dust was flying, and the scene was breathtaking. That direction, incidentally, was towards the outer gate of the Supreme Sect. Chapter 77. 2 Leaves decide the outcome. Outside the Supreme Sect, in front of the South City Gate. Sword Venerable Fudao, if you do not show up within 30 minutes' time, then I will carve 2 more words on the heavenly repair platform. Han Ming's voice resounded, loud as rolling thunder, reverberating between heaven and earth for a long time. His words stirred the cultivators into a flurry of discussion. Although the disciples of the Supreme Sect frowned, they did not dare to curse him, as he had observed the formalities first. Having eagerly awaited for a month, the fact that Sword Venerable Fudao hadn't appeared left even the disciples of the Supreme Sect somewhat disappointed. Zhuo Lin on the city wall breathed a sigh of relief, though he felt Han Ming was no match for Sword Venerable Fudao. Having spent a month together, he sincerely didn't wish for anything untoward to happen to Han Ming. Zhuo Yijian, on the other hand, looked into the distance, instinctively feeling that Sword Venerable Fudao would surely come. The commotion in the city grew louder. On the gourd magic artifact, Jiang Qiong whispered, "Could it be that Sword Venerable Fudao is really the sect leader?" "It's possible," Huemo mused. Although Han Ming is not much stronger than Chu Xian, Sword Venerable Fudao would need to reveal his true form to defeat him, so he wouldn't dare show up. If Sword Venerable Fudao truly is the sect leader, it's going to be interesting, and it will be seen as a self-directed play. His expression was mocking, his tone laced with disdain. The gourd under their feet glowed faintly, a restraining force isolating them from the surrounding space. Jiang Qiong was about to speak more, but suddenly, a powerful sword intent erupted from the South City Gate. Immediately following, an unimaginable force surged from the southern horizon. She jerked her head up, and Huemo beside her did the same. In front of the South City Gate, Han Ming lifted his sword box and stepped out 100 zhang. He planted the sword box into the ground, its base sinking into the soil. The sword box opened, and 2 treasure swords sprung out to the sides. His right hand pressed on the top of the sword box, his body bursting with vast sword intent, alarming all onlookers. Before most could track his movements, a streak of sword chi shot from the distant horizon, sweeping through forests and mountains, unstoppable. In the blink of an eye, this streak of sword chi collided with Han Ming's vast sword intent. Han Ming's sword chi formed a blue light curtain, nearly 200 zhang high, immensely grand. However, when struck by the mysterious sword chi, his blue sword chi tore apart, seemingly shattered in an instant. He widened his eyes, looking up, his pupils reflecting a leaf. Boom! The leaf swept over his head, sending his black hair fluttering, causing him to stagger back a couple of steps. Every cultivator on the city wall paled, Zhuo Yijian instinctively raising his arm to protect his son, barely discerning what lay within the sword chi. Another loud rumble, and the city wall shuddered, but did not break. When the violent sword chi dispersed like a gale, a leaf was embedded in the wall, surrounded by spiderweb cracks. Han Ming steadied himself, advancing again, drawing 2 treasure swords from the sword box, looking up into the distance. The flying leaf passed, the gale roaring from the horizon, as if to uproot everything in its path. Han Ming stood firm, his robes flapping backward, accentuating his robust physique. He fixed his gaze on the horizon, poised for battle. Cultivators from all directions, as well as those within the Supreme Sect, held their breath in anticipation. Sword Venerable Fudao had arrived. "Wow! Master, you're amazing. What swordsmanship is that? I want to learn." And Hao, after a brief moment of daze, jumped up in excitement. Guan picked up the leaf from Enzin's hand, startling her into looking up at him. "This is the swordsmanship I taught you earlier. Once you've mastered it, you too can be like me." However, true mastery of the sword path is about returning to simplicity, achieving overwhelming power without grand displays. Guan said softly, then tossed Enzin's leaf away. And Hao and Enzin's eyes followed the leaf as it floated 10 steps away, then suddenly accelerated like a streak of lightning. This time, the leaf didn't create the deafening display from earlier, appearing rather unremarkable, only its speed was fast. And Hao chuckled. "I like it when it's dramatic, it looks more impressive." Guan placed his hands on their shoulders, and they vanished into thin air. 15,000 miles away, in front of the South City Gate of the Supreme Sect's outer sect, Han Ming, holding 2 swords, stood in readiness. Silence reigns over the world. Everyone awaited the next move of Sword Venerable Fudao. Suddenly, Han Ming's pupils contracted sharply, immediately releasing his swords and casting a spell. The remaining sword in the sword box unsheathed, and 3 swords circled around him. With a gesture of his right hand forward, the 3 treasure swords rose and charged forth. The 3 swords interwoven swirled, releasing terrible sword chi that transformed into 3 dragons of sword chi racing forward, uprooting trees along the way, raising dust, and shaking the earth and mountains. The cultivators in the sky were flung away by the spectacle. A glimmering light streaked from the horizon. It was a leaf shrouded in sword chi. It had come. Han Ming sharply focused on the leaf, which, though less oppressive than the previous one, felt even more dangerous to him. The leaf suddenly accelerated. Turning into a glimmering light, it pierced through Han Ming's sword chi, sending his 3 swords flying. Before they could settle, the leaf was already before Han Ming. So fast! Damn it! Han Ming was horrified, instinctively pushing out his palm. His robes erupted with a golden light, forming a golden bell shadow. Boom! The leaf shattered the golden bell shadow, piercing Han Ming's right shoulder. The powerful force left him unable to resist, dragging his body along, splitting the ground beneath him. Han Ming crashed into the city wall, shattering the wall behind him but not bringing it down. The reason it didn't collapse wasn't due to the wall's sturdiness, but because Guan had controlled it deliberately. Han Ming was pinned against the wall, spitting blood. His head hung low as if dead. "Master!" Zwilin, atop the shaking wall, called out anxiously. Countless cultivators gasped. The mad swordsman of Great Yu had been defeated by Sword Venerable Fudao with just 2 leaves? How great was the gap? Flying Leaf Sword Immortal. Sword Venerable Fudao is the Flying Leaf Sword Immortal. A Supreme Sect disciple excitedly shouted. No need for him to spell it out, all spectators realized this. On the gourd magic artifact, Huamo opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. Yi Lan gazed at the remnants of sword chi in the sky, eyes full of envy. How advanced must one's cultivation be to wield such near godlike power? Shenzhen flew over the city wall, landed on the ground, and swiftly pulled out paper and pen to sketch Han Ming pinned against the wall. Under the blue sky, amidst the mountains, a small town sat by a large lake. If anyone asks, do not mention me. Just say you are children from this town. Gu An's voice transmitted. And Hao and an Xian landed, instinctively turning around, but Guan was already out of sight. At this moment, they stood in an alleyway, with moss-covered mud walls on both sides. As an Xian was about to speak, and Hao covered her mouth and said, "Sister, let's go catch frogs." He gave an Xian a look, and when she nodded he released his hand. Then they walked out of the alley one after another, drawn by the bustling street, smiles naturally spreading across their faces. After all, they were still children. On the other side, removing his mask, Guan donned a blue Daoist robe and stepped into an inn. Having a rare chance to come out, he intended to enjoy the mortal world's sights. He went up to the 2nd floor of the inn, sat at a windowside table, ordered the inn's signature wine and dishes, then gazed out at the street below. Street vendors peddled their goods on both sides, with travelers passing by. Guan even sensed the aura of other cultivators, though their numbers were not abundant. Patrons in the inn chatted about the grievances between Jianghu heroes, giving Guan a feeling of having traveled through time again. Before his food and drink arrived, Guan sensed a strong divine sense sweeping across the town. As expected, someone was coming. The divine sense swiftly vanished, not appearing again. Guan was in no hurry, ready to relax for the day. When his food and drink arrived, he began to drink alone, admiring the old-fashioned street bustling with people below the window. The sun set, the moon rose. As night fell, the town remained lively, red lanterns hanging on the buildings, with small rivers crisscrossing the town, glowing faintly. Guan stood atop a stone bridge, his brow furrowing slightly. He sensed a wisp of demon energy entering the town. Not very strong, just a 2nd-rank demon creature, equivalent to the Foundation establishment realm. Guan initially planned to return to the Supreme Sect the next morning to enjoy victory's accolades, so he wasn't in a rush, curious to see what the demon creature intended. Though no cultivators openly resided in this town, the 2nd-rank demon creature was still cautious, suggesting a particular reason. Guan slowly walked toward the direction of the demon energy. As he passed by a courtyard, a voice called out to him. "Junior brother Gu." The voice was old, tinged with surprise and hesitation. Guan turned his head, seeing an old man watching him from a courtyard. The old man had white hair and a stooped back, appearing in his 70s or 80s. Guan frowned, suddenly thinking of something, hesitantly asked, "Senior brother Zhang?" Zhang Chuanxiu. It had been so long, Guan had nearly forgotten Zhang Chunqius' aura, and Zhang Chunqius' appearance had changed significantly. The old man quickly walked out, excitedly saying, "It's really you. I felt like the person on the bridge looked like you from upstairs, but I didn't dare to believe it. Junior brother Gu, what brings you here? Are you on a mission as an outer disciple?" Guan nodded. "Something like that." "Senior brother, what are you doing here?" "What a coincidence." Zhang Chuanxiu smiled. "This town is the wealthiest near the Supreme Sect. I'm here to spend my retirement." That made sense. Guan chose this place because of its safety and vibrant population. Zhang Chuanxiu took Guan by the wrist, smiling. "Come in and chat. You're not in a hurry, are you?" "Not at all," Guan replied, sensing no one else in the courtyard. He was curious about Lotus' whereabouts. He had once eavesdropped on Zhang Chuanxiu muttering to himself, learning Zhang Chuanxiu had come down the mountain for a girl named Lotus. Chapter 78 Demon Guan. Renowned throughout the world, the end of summer moon was very round, but the clouds were too many, and the bright moon was quickly obscured. Guan and Zhang Chuanxiu sat inside the house, chatting leisurely. Zhang Chuanxiu spoke of his experiences over the years, while Guan listened attentively. Zhang Chunqius' story was like one written by a scholar. He left the Supreme Sect for a woman he loved, only that woman was a demon. Years ago, Zhang Chuanxiu went to the Supreme Sect seeking immortality. On the way, he was attacked by demons, and was luckily saved by a female demon named Lotus. Eventually, he safely entered the Supreme Sect. He always remembered Lotus' kindness. Every year, he would go out to visit her. Their feelings for each other grew rapidly. Many years later, having no hope of reaching the Foundation Establishment realm, he chose to descend the mountain and spend the rest of his life with Lotus. After they met again, they came to this town, bought a mansion, got married, and had a son. After being with a demon for a long time, Zhang Chunqius' spiritual power was drained, along with his chi blood. Lotus couldn't bear to drag him down, so one morning, she left without saying goodbye. Hearing the story up to this point, Guan wanted to say something but held back. "You might think I was deceived by her, but that's not the case. A human and a demon together end up this way. The reason I came down the mountain was also because there was no hope on the path of immortality. I do not regret it. Her lifespan is longer than mine. I don't have many years left. It's better she left earlier to avoid the pain of parting." Zhang Chuanxiu said with a smile, appearing kind. His cloudy eyes seemed to have seen through the vicissitudes of life in the mortal world. Looking at him, Guan couldn't help but think back to when he first entered the Mystic Valley. How young was Zhang Chuanxiu then? Truly, things had changed. He detected that Zhang Chuanxiu only had 3 years left to live, which made him feel a bit sad. An hour later, the demon energy that Guan had previously sensed entered the courtyard. It was Zhang Chunqius' son. Zhang Buku, Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd Layer 22/460/2300, at 22 years old, and in the Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd Layer, he was absolutely a genius. Could it be easier to give birth to geniuses from the union of humans and demons? Guan suspected it might be because Lotus' aptitude was exceedingly high. "Buku, this is your martial uncle, Guan." Zhang Chuanxiu called out to Zhang Buku, who had climbed over the wall. Zhang Buku looked like a boy of 16 or 17, with rather dense hair on his cheeks. "Greetings, martial uncle Gu." Zhang Buku walked over, greeting shyly. Guan smiled and nodded, then took out a bottle of elixirs from his storage bag, saying, "This is a top-grade spirit energy elixir, just a little gift for our first meeting. How can we accept this? Senior brother, are you refusing out of disdain?" "How could I? I just think it's too precious." After pushing back and forth for a long time, Zhang Chuanxiu couldn't argue against Guan, and had no choice but to let Zhang Buku accept it. Zhang Buku curiously observed Guan. It was the first time he had received a gift from someone other than his parents. Making him feel good about Guan, Zhang Chuanxiu began asking about the situation in Mystic Valley. And Guan did not hide anything. Upon hearing that Cheng Xiandan and Meng Lang had died, Zhang Chuanxia was not sad, but rather a bit emotional, and reminded Guan to be careful in the future. Then, Guan mentioned that Li Ye had already reached core formation. Zhang Chuanxia exclaimed in wonder, saying had always seen that Li Ye would soar to great heights. The two chatted for a long time, until Zhang Chuanxia could no longer hold on. Guan finally said his goodbyes. Before leaving, supported by Zhang Buku, Zhang Chuanxia turned around and said, "Junior brother Gu, you've already reached foundation establishment, which means your aptitude isn't terrible. Keep cultivating diligently. See how the world changes after hundreds of years for me." Guan stood at the door, looking back at him and nodding slightly. From beginning to end, Zhang Chuanxia did not ask him for anything, just reminisced. As Guan walked out of the courtyard, he couldn't help but look back. He could hear Zhang Chuanxia whispering to his son, asking where he had been causing trouble today, while Zhang Buku said he encountered a young boy and they fought. The boy he met was in Hao. Earlier when they fought, Guan felt it. Although there was a gap in cultivation level, Zhang Buku did not have the intention to kill. After several exchanges he left. This could be considered fate. Zhang Buku had the potential for a lifespan of 2,300 years, likely becoming a famous great demon among the demon clan. As for An Hao, there was no need to mention that he had the potential to be the best in the world. Many years later, when they meet again, will they recall their childhood battle in this small town? Guan smiled, then disappeared into the night. At dawn, in the wilderness, at the edge of a cliff, An Hao and an Xian sat in meditation on either side of Guan, facing the rising sun and practicing together. The sunshine poured down on them, making a harmonious picture. 3 blood marks on An Hao's left cheek were left by Zhang Buku. He had been searching for Zhang Buku all night, but couldn't find him. Even after leaving the town and arriving at this desolate place thousands of miles away, he was still indignant. Guan couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and said, "I have to go out for a while. I'll be back by evening." "Howard, take care of your junior sister." With that, he disappeared from the cliff. And Hao and an Xian opened their eyes, looked back, and saw that their master was gone. "Do you think our master is really who he says he is? Why does he only accompany us at night?" An Xian asked curiously. Touching his chin, and Hao thought, "Remember the storyteller who came to our village 2 years ago and mentioned the tales of the martial world? I think our master is one of the top demon lords in the world. However, his reputation as a demon lord should be misunderstood. Otherwise, why would he save us? It's because of this that he doesn't want us to be implicated by his reputation." And Zin's eyes widened and she asked, "If master really is a demon lord, then what is he going to do now?" "I don't know. But no matter what, he is our master. Anyway, he treats us very well, and we must remember his kindness." Guan, who was referred to as the Great Demon Lord by his disciples, returned to Mystic Valley and directly used the teleportation array to travel to the Third Medicine Valley. Sure enough, after the big battle ended, someone came looking for him. Guan walked into his loft and saw Shenzhen drawing at the desk. "I say, holy daughter Shen, have you made my place your home? Coming and going as you please. Aren't you afraid of offending me?" Guan said helplessly. Without lifting her eyes, Shenzhen said, "Come quickly and see." Guan immediately walked over, looked at her drawing, and frowned. "Is this Han Ming?" "Yes, how is it? Did I draw well?" "Aren't you afraid he'll hold a grudge against you? Would he dare? My father isn't someone to be trifled with." Shenzhen huffed, making Guan fall silent. Having backers is indeed impressive. Guan took a closer look. He had to admit that Shenzhen's painting skills were extraordinary. The scene of Han Ming being nailed to the city wall was depicted very clearly, including the cracks on the wall. "How is it? What do you think?" Shenzhen asked proudly. Guan grabbed her brush and added a few strokes to the paper. Shenzhen squinted at it, then her eyes widened. Guan had added some wind and shadow effects, making the scene more dynamic. This was a drawing technique from Earth's comics. Such a technique did not necessarily mean it was better than Shenzhen's, but the key was that Shenzhen had never seen this style before. Although it was just a piece of paper, it made her feel the movements, as if painting the process of Han Ming smashing against the wall. She turned to Guan and couldn't help but say, "You know how to draw?" "A little." "What about poetry and song?" "I know a bit of everything." There was admiration in Shenzhen's eyes, which made Guan lift his chin slightly. "Showing off, are we?" "Well, after all, you did write Investiture of the Gods." Shenzhen sighed. Guan then asked, "Why did you draw this picture?" Could it be that Shenzhen had a grudge against Han Ming? To tell the truth, I'm very interested in Sword Venerable Fu Dao. I always felt he would be a handsome and aloof swordsman. So many people came to watch the battle, yet he didn't show himself. He really has charisma. Shenzhen's eyes revealed a look of admiration. Gu An's lips twitched. What if he isn't a handsome young man but an old man? That's not impossible. Besides writing books, I'll be investigating Sword Venerable Fu Dao. I must find him. Why? To become Daoist friends, of course. Panan, don't think I keep coming here because I like you. Even though I don't love cultivating, my Daoist friend must be the top great cultivator in the world. Just in case I offend someone while writing or drawing, he should be able to handle it. Shenzhen rolled her eyes at Guan, then tidied up her drawing and walked towards the door. Guan shook his head with a smile, not following her. After Shenzhen left the medicine valley, he went downstairs to check on the medicinal herbs. The servant disciples were still discussing Sword Venerable Fu Dao, each with a look of fanaticism on their faces. Listening to their praises, Guan felt very happy. Despite his recent display of power, Guan couldn't afford to be complacent. He still had to accumulate his lifespan steadily and diligently. The 9 layers of the unification realm were not enough to satisfy him. In the blink of an eye, a year passed and another summer arrived. By now, Guan did not visit An Hao and An Xian daily, but only twice a month. An Hao's cultivation had reached the 9th layer of the energy cultivation realm, and could protect An Xian well. Last month, An Hao passed the test Guan arranged, personally killing the wolf demon that had previously chased them. Guan had let the wolf demon go to leave it for An Hao to kill. All right, he admitted. Upon first seeing An Hao's aptitude, he had already thought of a plan to nurture him extensively. The reason they hadn't gone to the Supreme Sect was that An Zin's cultivation level wasn't sufficient yet. Besides, the two were still young and could learn more from Guan. One day at noon, Guan went alone to the outer sect, first heading to the Heavenly Repair Platform. There were more and more sword cultivators on the Heavenly Repair Platform, and many were not from the Supreme Sect. The news of Sword Venerable Fu Dao severely injuring the mad swordsman of Great Yu with 2 leaves swept the immortal cultivation world. Now, Sword Venerable Fu Dao had become the most revered figure among the Supreme Sect disciples. Even though a year had passed, every time Guan came to the outer gate city, he could hear the disciples talking about it. After the fame of that battle spread, more and more sword cultivators came to visit. The Supreme Sect did not refuse them, but increased the defensive forces in this part of the outer gate city. This also resulted in Jiang Qiong's authority rising significantly since she was the great elder of the city. Guan looked from afar and saw Han Ming standing by Zuolin, scolding him impatiently, while Zuolin sat on the ground with a sullen face. Guan laughed. He wanted to see this scene, which was why he recommended Han Ming to take Zuolin as a disciple. Zuolin was a genius in every aspect, except for his exceedingly poor understanding of Sword Dao. Yet he loved Sword Dao the most. Guan chuckled to himself, then shifted his gaze to the others on the platform, looking for any unfamiliar great cultivators. As he scanned, he really found one. Chapter 79. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. LV Xian returns. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Second level of Unification Realm 3750/8090/54,000. Second level of Unification Realm. This exaggerated lifespan. First the Underworld Demon Emperor, now the Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Why do they all seem like characters from the underworld? Guan lamented silently. Even ghosts have lifespans, which means that even if they die, they can't exist forever. After thinking about it carefully, it made sense. If ghosts could exist forever, wouldn't this world be ruled by ghosts? Only tales of 1,000-year-old evil ghosts are heard. never of million-year-old ghost emperors. Of course, it could also be that Guan's level wasn't high enough to encounter such beings, but at least this mortal world was still dominated by the human race. Perhaps there was a force in the dark that suppressed the existence of ghosts, maintaining balance in all things. The lifespan of the human race might be short, but they cultivated quickly, each had its pros and cons. The ghost mother of Ephemera disguised herself as a female disciple of the Supreme Sect, looking very young, her cultivation level suppressed to Foundation Establishment realm, making it difficult for others to detect her abnormality. Guan didn't look any further, afraid of drawing her attention. The Supreme Sect had countless demons and monsters. As long as they didn't threaten him, he didn't bother. Little friend Gu. Han Ming suddenly walked over, with a smile on his face. Despite experiencing a crushing defeat, he didn't feel humiliated. Instead, he felt fortunate. Sword Venerable Fudao had pinned him to the city wall with a leaf, and the sword intent contained in that leaf benefited him greatly, indicating a lesson in disguise. With Fudao's ability, had he wanted to kill him, he definitely wouldn't have survived. Guan looked at the approaching Han Ming, and immediately saluted. Han Ming came forward, warmly grabbing his hand and said, "Little friend Gu, since you're here, you must practice swordsmanship with me. The disciple you recommended to me is really too dull. It's driving my Taoist heart restless with anger." As he spoke, Han Ming pulled Guan in the direction of Zwilin. Guan, unable to break free from his hand while hiding his cultivation level, could only walk helplessly. Han Ming had Guan sit next to Zwilin, then started teaching swordsmanship techniques. Zwilin, seeing Guan, was very pleased and kept pulling him to talk endlessly, making Han Ming very irritable and scold Zwilin again. Zhuaijian sat on one side, smiling as he watched his son being scolded, while also scrutinizing Guan. Besides being good-looking, his cultivation level seemed ordinary, and Zhuaijian couldn't understand what caught Han Ming's eye about this child. Zhuaijian closed his eyes, while feeling the sword intent within the words righteous path. And thinking back to the scene of Han Ming being defeated, he seemed to catch something in the dark, yet it felt like an illusion. This complex feeling made him bewildered. After a full ancient hour, Guan finally managed to escape Han Ming's entreaties. Han Ming's swordsmanship. Guan had memorized it after hearing it once, but to keep a low profile, he had listened to it 6 times, really exhausting himself. Guan hastily left under Han Ming's disappointed gaze. From now on, he had to avoid Han Ming when visiting the heavenly repair platform. This guy was too troublesome, Guan thought to himself, and then went to the Elixir Hall and the Book Collection Hall in sequence to report in, and finally visited Jiang Qiong at the Great Elder's residence. In the main hall, Jiang Qiong threw a storage bag to Guan and said, "These are all high-rank medical herbs I have collected. Once they mature, you can take 20%. Hasn't your martial master treated you well?" Guan scanned it with his divine sense and was elated. So many seeds, and the lowest grade was 4th rank. "Thank you, martial master," Guan said sincerely. Jiang Qiong could have asked someone else to nurture them. She was the great elder now, holding significant power. Hearing this, Jiang Qiong smiled contentedly. She enjoyed seeing Guan's gratitude towards her. Try not to sell the green vine fruit. It greatly enhances qi blood and root bones, making it a treasure beyond the measure of spirit stones, Jiang Qiong said earnestly. Clearly, she had found out about Guan's record of selling green vine fruit. Guan nodded. He no longer needed spirit stones to buy seeds, so naturally he wouldn't sell them. Next, I plan to strive further upward. Your medicine valley can partly be credited to me. Cultivate it well. In the future, I will find a golden core from a core formation realm cultivator, and use secret techniques to help you become a core formation realm cultivator, Jiang Qiong continued. Guan quickly thanked her again. Then Jiang Qiong waved her hand, indicating he could leave. Guan turned to leave. After taking a few steps, Jiang Qiong's voice floated from behind. "Guan, do you write books?" This statement made Guan's heart tremble. What did that mean? Was he discovered by Jiang Qiong? Or was it a test? Guan turned back and asked confusedly, "Write books about what?" Jiang Qiong looked at his face, which didn't appear guilty, and then shook her head. "Nothing, go back." Guan scratched his head and left with a puzzled expression. Jiang Qiong sat in her chair and thought. After a while, she took a book out of her storage bag and started flipping through it. The cover had 4 words. Supreme Secret Records. Summer was blistering hot. The 13-year-old and Hao lay by the river, facing the sky, his head immersed in the water, bubbling as he blew bubbles. Not far away, an Exian was sitting under a tree, meditating and cultivating. Her brows were furrowed, obviously finding her cultivation difficult. A figure covered in Hao's body, making him open his eyes subconsciously. When he saw who it was, he quickly got up. Master! And Hao quickly got up, rubbed his wet hair, and then cultivated energy to dry his hair with spiritual power, causing wisps of white smoke to rise from his head. Guan wore a mask and spoke in a hoarse, low voice. I won't teach you swordsmanship today, I'll teach you leg techniques. Hearing this, and Hao's eyes lit up, and he became excited. Finally, he didn't have to learn swordsmanship. And Hao was not only strong in spirit root qualification, but also had exceptional comprehension. After practicing the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword for a year, he had fully mastered its moves and mental methods. Now he only needed to cultivate his own sword intent. Guan lifted his leg, standing on one leg. This posture immediately stunned Hao, and even an Exian, who was absorbing energy, got drawn in. This leg technique is called Gale Shadowless Leg, watch carefully. Guan said with a deep voice. Currently, only Yilan inherited this move, while others practiced the residual wind leg. Although the residual wind leg was the basic leg technique of the Gale Shadowless Leg, it was hard to see their close connection when put together. He was not afraid that Yilan and Hao would recognize each other's leg techniques in the future. If they could recognize it, it meant they were fighting, just in time for Hao to show mercy. After spending more than a year together, Guan had already treated Hao like his own child. Hao was not inherently bad and even had a chivalrous spirit deep down, only a bit carefree in personality. Guan's leg shot out, and in an instant, countless leg shadows burst forth. A gale arose, splashing water, and the trees in front of him toppled. The mountain wall 100 feet away cracked, with dense footprints appearing, very spectacular. Even the clouds in the sky were torn apart. Hao was dumbfounded and trembling all over, while an Exian was also watching with wide eyes. What a domineering leg technique. I want to learn. I want to learn. It feels more impressive than the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. Hao shouted excitedly and even kicked a few times in place. Guan said, the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword is stronger than the Gale Shadowless Leg. I just didn't show you its full power. Hehe, I get it. I won't forget to practice the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword in the future. Hao quickly promised. Guan started teaching him the moves. As always, Hao memorized the moves after seeing them once, and then began practicing on his own. Again and again he became more proficient. Guan suddenly felt it was time to arrange for Hao to go to the Supreme Sect. This child's talent was terrifyingly high. If he could join the Supreme Sect earlier, he might establish a better foundation since Guan could only teach him cultivation techniques and ultimate skills. However, Guan thought of an Exian. Her qualification was too mediocre. Never mind, let them go. Qualification wasn't something he could change for now, so why worry for her? Guan decided to wait another 6 months before sending the 2 children to the Supreme Sect. In 10 years, Hao might become renowned. He wondered how long it would take for him to catch up with Li Ya and Ji Xiaoyu. Guan even began to look forward to the duel between Li Ya and Hao. Li Ya, being naturally competitive, would certainly clash with Hao one day. There were internal combats within the Supreme Sect. Although the two were over 30 years apart, they could be considered the same generation. The summer heat was intense, and Hao soon became drenched in sweat, yet he continued practicing legs tirelessly. Despite his young age, once his clothes were soaked with sweat, his body showed strong muscle lines, full of strength. Guan just stood there, quietly watching. Tianya Valley. Guan was planting seeds, with Sun San following close behind, carrying a basket. To prevent being seen through, Guan didn't just harvest, occasionally he did other tasks. I'm back. A voice came from the valley entrance. Guan didn't have to look to know it was LV Xian. LV Xian walked in from the valley entrance, wearing a blue robe and holding a folding fan, looking more masculine compared to his previous red attire. How did it go? Smoothly? Sitting on the mountaintop, Iluyan asked, his voice echoing through Tianya Valley. Luo Han appeared in front of the pavilion with a long spear, welcoming LV Xian's return. Guan also had to show his respect. Compared to LV Xian, Guan was more concerned about Li Ya's situation in the 100 Races Assembly. LV Xian wore a faint smile and said, "Naturally smooth, although there were some twists in the middle. I took the first place without any surprises." Hearing this, both Luo Han and Iluyan smiled. They all served Li Xiandao and would experience life and death together in the future. The stronger LV Xian was, the happier they would be. Iluyan asked again across the Medicine Valley, "Did the talents from the Ji family, Gu family, and Zhou family pose any threat to you?" LV Xian replied, "A woman named Ji Xiaoyu from the Ji family gave me some trouble. Unfortunately, she withdrew halfway, and without defeating her head-on. I felt some regret. Other than that, there were less than 5 opponents who could contend with me." "Was there anyone among His Majesty's children who satisfied you?" Luo Han asked, with some expectation in his tone. LV Xian shook his head and said disdainfully, "Although I greatly admire His Majesty, his children are really not up to par, not even close to him. By the way, there was a prince named Liya who showed surprising ferocity. To win, I had to break his limbs. He'll probably need a year or 2 to recover." This statement caused Luo Han's face to change dramatically. Guan couldn't help but frown as well. Chapter 80, Mystic Tortoise Surging Wave Palm. Shockingly revealed Heavenly Spirit Root. Guan felt annoyed when he heard about Li Ya's injury. This guy was too harsh with his moves, and now he was belittling Li Ya. Previously, Guan thought that even if LV Xian defeated Li Ya, he would show some mercy for Li Zuando's sake, but he hadn't expected such arrogance. With a tone that showed no regard for Li Xiandao, Iluyan appeared out of nowhere in front of LV Xian and frowned as he asked, "Why did you injure His Highness? Couldn't you just knock him out?" Clearly, Li Xiandao frequently mentioned Li Ya in front of him. "What's the matter? He can't be injured? He's not the Crown Prince, and compared to the Crown Prince, he's far inferior." LV Xian frowned and retorted, his tone filled with dissatisfaction. "Even if he's not the Crown Prince, he's still a prince that His Majesty cares about." Iluyan's tone was somewhat heavy. Luo Han remained silent, but from his expression, it was clear he was also displeased. LV Xian snorted, "Is it forbidden? Then you beat me up and break my hands and feet." At this moment he saw Guan approaching, immediately became excited, and walked up to him. "Valley Master, I've already won the championship of the 100 Clans tournament. How about training with me?" LV Xian said, taking a golden token from his storage bag with the words Hidden Dragon List Champion inscribed on it. Guan nodded, "Then let's learn." Upon hearing this, LV Xian immediately pulled him aside. Iluyan looked at Luo Han and asked, "Do we need to inform His Majesty about this?" Luo Han thought for a moment and said, "No need, His Majesty surely has people watching over His Highness Li Ya." Iluyan sighed, shook his head, and then disappeared from the spot. Guan followed LV Xian to an open space, with 3 monkey demons following and watching curiously from the side. "What kind of spell do you like?" LV Xian asked, rubbing his hands eager to teach. "Anything but swordsmanship." Guan replied. This had been agreed upon earlier. He didn't want to break his word. However, the matter of LV Xian injuring Li Ya couldn't be overlooked. "Then I'll teach you the hand technique, alright? I have a powerful hand technique, the very one I used to break Li Ya's hands and feet," LV Xian said with a proud smile, glancing at the distant Iluyan, clearly meant for him to hear. Guan nodded. "Then teach it. Let's see how powerful it is." LV Xian immediately began teaching the hand technique, demonstrating the moves while explaining the mental method. Mystic Tortoise Surging Wave Palm. The name alone sounded domineering. Guan watched intently. He was ready to thoroughly torment LV Xian. The sun shone brightly and gradually set in the west. By the time evening fell, Lvcien, looking frustrated, asked. Are you really that forgetful, or are you deliberately messing with me? His loud voice startled Luo Han and Yi Luyan, who hurriedly flew over, fearing he might get violent. Guan sighed. I already said my aptitude and comprehension are very poor, but you didn't believe me and insisted on teaching me. Now you're getting impatient. No one could be this dumb, right? Lvcien couldn't understand. Yet Guan didn't seem to be faking it. Yi Luyun said. The Valley Master's cultivation was all piled up with elixirs, understandable. I've told you before, don't always try to persuade others. Everyone's situation is different. Luo Han reminded. What His Majesty values is his cultivation ability. He emphasized the phrase values. Lvcien took a deep breath and said, I don't believe it. I must teach him. Guan hastily said, Next time. I need to go back. You can't leave. Hearing this, Guan turned to leave, and Yi Luyan and Luo Han quickly stopped Lvcien. Damn it, Valley Master, you must come back. Once you master the mystic tortoise surging wave palm, you'll have the power to protect yourself, and you might even compete for heavenly destiny, reaching higher levels. Lvcien watched Guan's retreating figure and shouted loudly. Guan didn't understand him. Cruel to opponents, yet he enjoyed teaching people to cultivate? Was he having split dreams? Guan thought as he flew away on his sword, quickly disappearing into the twilight. In the days that followed, every time Guan visited, Lvcien would try to teach him spells. No matter how he taught, Guan couldn't learn, but Lvcien never gave up. If he couldn't teach one spell, he'd move on to another. Time flew by. The end of the year arrived. Heavy snow covered miles of mountains and forests. Guan, dressed in white and wearing a mask, walked out of the forest, with An Hao and an Xian following behind him. The usually lively An Hao was now silent as well. Guan stopped and looked at the snowy mountains ahead, then said, A few hundred miles ahead, you'll reach the outer sect of the Supreme Sect. Once there, unleash your spiritual power, and they will bring you into the city to test your spirit roots. And Zin's eyes were red as she couldn't help but ask, Master, when will we see you again? I saved you because I happened to pass by. This is a fate that shouldn't have been. We will not meet again, and you must not mention me to anyone. Guan said, turning his back to them. He had taught An Hao and an Xian to cultivate without any ulterior motive. It was just a whim. He didn't need them to repay him and hoped their relationship would end here. An Hao suddenly knelt down, and an Xian followed, kowtowing to Guan. This time, Guan didn't stop them and accepted their 3 kowtows. An Hao's forehead was directly broken, blood and flesh mingling, but he felt no pain, staring firmly at his master's back. He could never forget the terrifying experience in the demon cave, and the despair when facing the wolf demon. Master, no matter who you are, I will always remember your kindness. I will strive to cultivate, make a name for myself, and become the greatest person under the heavens. When you hear my name and need anything, disciple would die 1,000 deaths without hesitation. And Hao said solemnly. Though he had just turned 14, there was a determination in his eyes fiercer than that of an adult man. Guan waved his sleeve, and the wind and snow swept in from the horizon, causing An Hao and an Xian to instinctively raise their arms to shield their faces. If you want to help me, live for 1,000 years first. Guan's voice drifted away in the wind. When the snow passed, the two raised their eyes, and he was already gone. An Xian couldn't help but look at An Hao, waiting for his decision. He stood up, looked toward the horizon and said softly, An Xian, we must not disappoint Master. An Xian nodded firmly. The siblings stepped forward into the flying snow that seemed ready to swallow them. Guan returned to Mystic Valley. He first inspected the medicinal herbs in Mystic Valley, and then returned to his loft, keeping his divine sense focused on An Hao and an Xian the entire time. Although they were less than 300 miles from the Supreme Sect, he still worried, as the Supreme Sect was now a mix of fish and dragons. For the next few days, no matter where he went or what he did, he kept part of his divine sense watching over An Hao and an Xian until they safely reached the outer sect of the Supreme Sect. When the young An Hao revealed his Qi cultivation realm 9 layers cultivation level, it immediately shocked the elder of the Outer Gate City, who personally attended to them. The reason he chose the nearby Outer Gate city was mainly because there were many great cultivators in the city, and Anhao wouldn't be easily plotted against or possessed. As the new year arrived, during the spring festival, Mystic Valley, Guan Yilan, Zhenqin, Wuxin, Xiaochuan, Tangyu, and others sat around a long table celebrating. Other servant disciples sat at another table, clinking glasses together. Have you heard? Recently, the outer sect recruited a disciple with heavenly spirit root. Even the elders of the sect's main city were alerted. His name is Anhao, and he's only 14 years old, almost at foundation establishment. It's unbelievable. Compared to him, I feel like my cultivation has turned me into a pig. Zhenqin marveled while holding a wine bowl. Heavenly spirit root. Everyone was intrigued, and Wuxing couldn't help but ask, is that true? The Taizong dynasty hasn't had a heavenly spirit root for hundreds of years. It's true. Our law enforcement hall even guarded him for a few days, until the sect leader took him away. Yilan nodded, much calmer than Zhenqin. Everyone continued discussing the heavenly spirit root, with Wuxin sharing many legends, making Yilan frown. How does this kid know so much? Is there something suspicious about him? Yilan thought silently as she looked at Wuxin. Although she had known him for years, people could change. No, she had to check Wuxin's entry records. Listening to everyone talk about Anhao, Guan couldn't help but smile. From now on, there would be another interesting aspect to his farming life, watching how high Anhao could grow. After a long discussion, the topic shifted to the immortal cultivation world. It was said that a demon disaster was occurring in Changluo, Songzhou, with a demon attempting to assassinate the emperor. The emperor narrowly survived, resulting in anger and a pursuit of those responsible, with entire families being executed. Guan knew that Li Xiandao hid the 9 layers of divinity transformation realm, so he wasn't worried, listening with great interest. The New Year's celebration, bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new, lasted until dawn. When the sun first rose, Yilan and Zhenqin left. Guan did not immediately leave Mystic Valley, but quietly entered the 8 scenic caves to bring delicacies to Sky Dragon. Under the green vine tree, seeing Guan arrive, Sky Dragon was very happy, swimming quickly around him. Now it was nearly 2 zhang long, with dragon horns fully grown. Looking like a real dragon, its black dragon scales gleaming with cold light. Master, when can you take me outside? Sky Dragon rubbed Guan's face, asking pitifully. Guan stroked its head, smiling. Didn't I tell you? When you grow up completely. Outside, many people are eyeing your flesh, just like you look at mutton. How big counts as grown up? I feel I'm very strong now. Even stronger than you, master. Sky Dragon said aggrievedly. Although Guan had practiced swordsmanship under the tree, he had never shown his true strength, so even Sky Dragon didn't know his real abilities. Hearing its words, Guan thought he couldn't continue like this. I'll think of a way. Guan pondered. He decided to find Jiang Qiong to see if she understood transformation skills, to turn Sky Dragon into a snake, so that it could follow him outside. Upon hearing this, Sky Dragon immediately became happy, even cheering, making Guan laugh. After staying in the 8 scenic caves for an ancient hour, Guan left, leaving quickly because he sensed a familiar presence approaching Mystic Valley. Guan returned to his loft, pretending to read a book. After a while, a figure leapt in through the window, and before landing, the voice rang out. Junior brother Gu, guess what treasure I brought back for you? Chapter 81 Ancient Gold, Swallowing Insect. Demon Path besieges Supreme Sect. Guan looked at Liya, who climbed in through the window, and said helplessly, what treasure could be better than my windowsill? Liya, dressed in green, walked to the table, took a bag from his waist, placed it on the table, and said with a smug smile, this treasure, you will definitely like. Guan probed with his divine sense, frowned, and asked, why are they just bugs? These are ancient gold-swallowing insects. Their jaws can bite through any gold, iron, or ore in the world. If fed with golden attribute spirit energy, they can grow even stronger. There are 16 in total here. One of them is a queen. They are quite good for guarding the house and can also help you dig the ground. Leah said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Guan became interested and asked curiously, "How do you make them recognize their master?" "There is a special recognition ritual. You have to drip your blood essence onto the queen insect to establish a soul connection," Leah said, following by handing Guan a thin secret book from his storage bag. Guan took it but did not open it immediately. Instead he asked, "How did the 100 clan assembly go?" Leah pulled over a chair from the side, sat opposite Guan and sighed. "It wasn't smooth but it was enlightening. The world is truly full of experts and talents. My talent was nothing at the assembly of the 9 dynasties and 100 clans. I barely made it into the top 100, and Zhou Tongyu only made it into the top 10. Seeing how optimistic he seemed, Guan felt slightly less worried. Leah began to recount what he had seen and heard at the 100 clan assembly, and Guan listened attentively. Halfway through, Guan even got up to pour some wine, listening while drinking. Leah kept talking until dusk and still had more to say. Guan lamented, "So it seems only our family's third miss can pose a threat to LV Xian? Her Qilin step is indeed formidable. She was the only one able to wound LV Xian. Unfortunately, she encountered a heavenly tribulation after taking 9 steps, temporarily halting the combat. She hasn't been seen since," Leah nodded. "Heavenly tribulation? What does that mean? Is the Qilin step that powerful?" Guan was surprised. He had taken countless steps over the past 2 years and hadn't encountered any heavenly tribulations. Leah shook his head. "How would I know? Maybe she has some hidden secret within her body." Innate Taoist talisman. Guan sighed in his heart. Is she cheating? Compared to Ji Xiaoyu, LV Xian's strength was what shocked me the most. He is my next target and I will challenge him and win next time, Leah said with fighting spirit. Guan asked, "Didn't you just say he broke all your limbs? Don't you hate him?" Leah shook his head. "It was a normal sparring match, nothing to hate. Besides, I refused to admit defeat at the time. I heard from a senior that he's also a pitiful person. He has other remnant souls within him that want to seize his body. That's why he sometimes acts friendly, sometimes violent." Other remnant souls? Guan breathed a sigh of relief. If that's the case, then he was reassured. He had been worried that LV Xian was an immortal reincarnated. Now it seemed that wasn't the case. "What do you mean by other remnant souls?" Guan asked in confusion. "Not sure. It might be related to some treasure, or maybe he was possessed. Anyway, he will be tormented until he clears those souls. No wonder he was never mentioned in the Supreme Sect before. Perhaps the LV family kept him protected. By the way, his father was the previous sect leader, LV Baitian. LV Baitian went into deviation while cultivating, and his son is tormented by residual souls. Is it just a coincidence?" Leah frowned as he spoke, then sighed and said, "If LV Xian were not affected by the residual souls, he might have already formed his nascent soul. His power would be unimaginable." Guan laughed, amused that he was starting to sympathize with LV Xian. "By the way, who was that senior you mentioned? He sounds amazing," Guan asked, feigning curiosity. "An unnamed senior. Sorry, I can't reveal more," Leah replied. "Heh, must be the old master inside you." Guan could sense the growing presence of a soul within Leah. He suddenly thought of something. Before reaching the unification realm, he could sense the soul within Leah. Those great cultivators in the void-crossing realm should be able to detect it too. Judging by Leah's words, it seemed no one had discovered this. Was it because Gu An's cultivation technique was too strong, or was there another reason? Even though it was getting late, Leah showed no sign of leaving. He kept chatting with Guan, describing the landscapes he saw during his travels. They talked until the next morning when Leah finally left. After he left, Guan picked up the secret book left by Leah and began studying how to make the ancient gold-swallowing insects recognize him as their master. Under a clear sky, in the third medicine valley, Guan stood in front of Elder Tian, raising his right hand. On the back of his hand was a golden insect resembling a beetle, but with larger mandibles. Ancient gold-swallowing insect. This creature is very rare, hard to find even within the Taizong dynasty, Elder Tian praised. This was a gift from my senior brother, Leah. He placed in the top 100 at the 100 clan assembly and brought this insect back for me. It can help patrol the Medicine Valley in the future, Guan said with a smile. He had mentioned Liya to Elder Tian several times. If Elder Tian ever regained his position as sect leader, hopefully, he would remember Liya and cultivate him with care. Elder Tian nodded. It seems this Liya is indeed talented and devoted. A single ancient gold-swallowing insect is invaluable, let alone 16. Guan opened the insect bag at his waist, and the ancient gold-swallowing insects flew out. One of them, twice the size of the others, landed on his shoulder while the rest hovered around him. Passing by, Xiaochuan couldn't help but come over and Guan began showing off the insects. By the evening, all the servant disciples in the Third Medicine Valley had witnessed the ancient gold-swallowing insects. Guan wasn't just showing off, he wanted to prevent the servants from attacking the patrolling insects in the future. Seasons passed, and 3 years went by quickly. Guan crossed the 50-year mark. These 3 years had been peaceful and fulfilling. His lifespan had exceeded 300,000 years, and continued to increase annually. One day, Xiaochuan arrived at the transmission array platform with Yilan. Guan was playing with a white spirit rat as big as a dog. When he saw Yilan coming, he immediately got up to greet her. Yilan's face looked troubled. Facing Guan, she said, "Senior brother, let's talk inside." Guan nodded and led Yilan upstairs. Xiaochuan went towards the white spirit rat, but it turned and ran away. Angry, Xiaochuan picked up a stone to throw at it but missed. Meanwhile, Guan closed the door after entering the room. He had just turned around when Yilan spoke. "Senior brother, Wuxia is a spy from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion." Upon hearing this, Guan's expression changed slightly. He frowned and asked, "Nonsense, what evidence do you have?" Yilan took out several sheets of paper and said, "These are all records left by the Demon Extermination Hall of the Disciples. The person who brought Wuxia into the sect was not a demonic spy, but his subsequent connections were all demonic spies. Besides, the Thousand Autumn Pavilion has been searching for the son of a pavilion master, who happens to be a monk with indelible scars on his head." Guan took the papers and examined them closely. The papers outlined the interactions of the spies, including visits Wuxia had made to the outer gate city to see them. Careless. Why didn't he act more prudently? Guan silently cursed but didn't panic, as Yilan was the one who discovered this. After reading, Guan looked up at Yilan and asked, "How many people know about this?" "Just me for now. The law enforcement hall usually doesn't investigate servant disciples. We discovered that there's a valley master in the outer sect's Medicine Valley working for the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, but we haven't identified who it is yet. We wanted to investigate further, but someone above us ordered us to stop," Yilan said angrily. "Who ordered you to stop?" "Outer sect Great Elder Jiang Qiong, but her people said it was an order from the inner sect." Guan suddenly thought that Jiang Qiong being the outer sect Great Elder might actually be beneficial, as she could shield him. Although Guan had never worked for the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, the green vine tree made it impossible to wash his hands clean, and he didn't want his peaceful farming life disturbed. Guan stepped forward, grabbing Yilan's shoulders, and took a deep breath saying, "Junior sister, this matter must be suppressed. Even if Wuxia is from the demonic path, after so many years together, I believe he is not a bad person." Blushing, Yilan lowered her eyes and said, "Senior brother, are you also from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion? If you are, I'm willing to go with you." "How could that be? I was born as a person of the Supreme Sect, and I will die as a ghost of the Supreme Sect. I don't care wherever you go, take me with you." "Can you suppress this matter then?" "Yes, the other evidence has been destroyed. Only what's in your hand remains." Guan released her and threw the papers into his storage bag. "Better keep it just in case." Yilan then said, "This is actually a minor issue. I know you will protect him. I came to tell you something bigger. The demonic path is preparing to attack the Supreme Sect, and this time, it's real. Someone in the Hall of Elders in the main city has betrayed the Supreme Sect. This information came from a law enforcement hall spy within the Wanin sect, and has been reported upwards. The 4 inner sect cities are preparing for war. There are many cultivators from other sects and dynasties in the outer sect. They have been there for years and can't be expelled easily. If the demonic path attacks, the outer gate city might be very dangerous, with demonic spies possibly aiding the enemy. Demonic path attack? Guan frowned and asked. The Supreme Sect's disciple count has skyrocketed over the years. How dare they attack? They've allied with the Demon Clan, planning to destroy the Supreme Sect and then divide up the Taitsong dynasty. Yi Lan replied with a serious expression. Allied with the Demon Clan? Guan was puzzled. Didn't these demonic sects know about the upcoming 100-year demonic calamity? After sharing more information, Yi Lan left in a hurry. Guan personally escorted her to the transmission array platform to send her to the Mystic Valley, and then the outer gate city to follow protocol. Returning to his room, Guan suddenly noticed Elder Tian sitting under an old tree. It had been a while since he last checked on Elder Tian. The old guy had his cultivation level increased by 2 layers at the Heavenly Repair platform, but had been quiet ever since, which was strange. As he thought about this, Guan cast a lifespan detection spell. Chapter 82 The Battle Between Good and Evil, Protecting Medicine Valley, LV Batian. Core Formation Realm 3rd Layer 754/1050/3200 Core Formation Realm 3rd Layer? Seeing Elder Tian's cultivation level rising so high, Guan was secretly alarmed. He had better keep an eye on Elder Tian frequently. What if one day he surpassed him, and he didn't even know? Guan realized that the higher the realm, the more cultivators practiced the energy-concealing sorcery. It was very difficult to judge an opponent's cultivation level based solely on sensory perception. In other words, the immortal cultivation world was all about who could conceal themselves better. Fortunately, he concealed himself deeply enough. He was confident he could continue to do so. Elder Tian seemed to sense Guan's gaze. He opened his eyes and looked at him. Guan gave a slight nod, then returned to his room. The demon path was about to attack, but he did not panic at all. He went about his usual business. The Supreme Sect was not a soft target, especially with Elder Tian, this hidden sect leader, secretly gaining power. What Guan needed to do was protect his medicine valley. At the end of summer, the weather was cool. Guan walked within the outer gate city, and found that the number of disciples from the law enforcement hall in the city had increased significantly. There were also many divinity transformation realm auras on the city walls in all directions. The whole city exuded a tense and murderous atmosphere. The demon path was really coming. As usual, he first went to the Heavenly Repair platform to take a look. The Underworld Demon Emperor and the Ghost Mother of Ephemera were still there. The two seemed like ascetics, sitting alone in meditation, with no other hidden demons around. Guan always felt that the Underworld Demon Emperor might be related to the demon path, but he was reluctant to report it for fear of being dragged into the whirlpool. His goal was longevity. Would the Supreme Sect still exist after 10,000 years? He was never someone with great noble aspirations. He was just an ordinary person. After scanning the surroundings, Guan did not see any powerful unfamiliar faces. It seemed that the Supreme Sect had recently been strict in controlling outsiders, only permitting them to leave while barring them from entering. Afterward, Guan visited Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong was not in her residence. Her servant asked him to wait in the hall. Standing in the main hall, Guan observed the surroundings. He could feel the presence of very intricate restrictions here, which could not be seen with the naked eye. The Ziwei Array Chronicles Jiang Qiong gave him, he had often read, and he had built a considerable understanding of formations. So now he could see some of it. While observing, Guan suddenly felt something, and his expression turned strange. There was a large space beneath this residence, just like the 8 scenic caves below the Mystic Valley. An ancient hour later, Jiang Qiong finally returned. When she entered the hall, she waved her right hand, and the door closed with a bang. Guan stood up and looked at her. She walked to the main seat and sat down, saying, "No need for formalities. Sit down." Her face looked somber, clearly having encountered unpleasant matters. Guan took a storage bag from his waist and placed it on the table beside her, saying, "This is the first batch of mature medicinal herbs. Please check them." The grade and rank of Jiang Qiong's medicinal herbs were all quite high, so the first batch of medicinal herbs had just matured now. Jiang Qiong did not take the storage bag but instead asked, "You must have other matters. Otherwise, you could have let Huemo do the checking." Guan nodded and said, "I have received news that the Demon Path plans to besiege the Supreme Sect. Is it true?" This was something best to ask the Demon Path about. Jiang Qiong nodded and said, "That's correct. Within half a year at most, the righteous and demonic war of the Taitsong dynasty will break out. The reason is that the Supreme Sect has been continuously growing, making the Demon Path uneasy. Additionally, with the help of the Demon Clan, the two sides joining forces indeed have a chance to defeat the Supreme Sect." Guan hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I heard that 100 years later, demons outside the 9 dynasties will invade the 9 dynasties. Shouldn't we be striving for peace and working hard on cultivation at this time? And how can the Demon Clan be trusted?" Hearing this, Jiang Qiong glanced at him and snorted softly. "Do you think the Demon Clan is of one mind? The demons outside the 9 dynasties are not purely Demon Clan. If they break in, the Demon Clan will also face slaughter. As for the human race, when have they ever truly united? The more dangerous the situation, the more they fight. The resources in the immortal cultivation world of the 9 dynasties are limited. The stronger the Supreme Sect becomes, the more it squeezes the cultivation resources of other sections. Historically, the so-called righteous and demonic struggles have actually been battles for resources. They just need a justified cause. This time, the Demon Path is launching a war under the banner of the Supreme Sect's evil deeds. Soon you will hear about it. When the Supreme Sect's morale wavers, the Demon Path will launch an attack. If they succeed, the righteous and demonic stances will reverse. If they fail, the Supreme Sect will have no strength left to eradicate the Demon Path." After hearing this, Guan remained silent. He was the one who could feel this the most. Each time he broke through, he absorbed a large amount of spiritual energy, thereby affecting the Supreme Sect. If all the spiritual energy and spirit stones of the entire dynasty were concentrated in one sect, the chances of breakthroughs for the authority holders in that sect would be much greater. So even if the calamity of the demons was only 100 years away, they still contended for it. Or rather, what the great cultivators cared about was not the common people, but their own cultivation levels. As long as they were strong enough, they could even venture south to the sea to seek immortal destiny. Guan thought for a moment and asked, "Martial Master, which side are you on?" Jiang Qiong smiled and said, "I stand on the side of the victors. Don't worry. I can ensure that our outer gate city remains safe. Moreover, there are too many great cultivators in this city. The Demon Path will not attack from this direction." Upon hearing this, Guan secretly breathed a sigh of relief and laughed. "As long as it doesn't endanger my Medicine Valley, that's enough. Scared now? I told you to cultivate more often, but you didn't listen. Cultivation is not something that can be rushed. Humph. You are just lucky to have a martial master like me. Before you go, find Huemo. I have already prepared a batch of immortal cultivation elixirs for you in advance to help boost your cultivation level. You are already 50 years old, still not in core formation realm. What a waste. Don't ever say that you are my disciple's grandson." "Thank you, martial master," Guan said with a smile, but inside he was grumbling. A 50-year-old at Unification Realm 9th layer. Have you ever heard of it? It would scare you to death if you knew. Next, Guan inquired about the cultivation level of the strongest member of the Demon Path, but Jiang Qiong didn't know. She candidly said that if LV Baitian were still present, the Demon Path would certainly not dare to invade. But now that the sect leader was Chu Tianqi, the battle between the strongest of the righteous and the demonic factions would be difficult to determine. These words made Guan feel sympathy for the Demon Path. LV Baitian was not dead yet. By the way, Martial Master, have you ever heard of the Underworld Demon Emperor? Guan suddenly asked. Jiang Qiong thought for a moment and shook her head. I've never heard of him. Why? It's nothing. I just read about him in a book. He's supposed to be very powerful. Since you don't know, then never mind. I should take my leave. Guan answered, then stood up, saluted, and turned to leave. Jiang Qiong watched his back, lost in thought. After talking with Jiang Qiong, Guan's worries about the righteous and demonic war eased significantly. His days returned to being as peaceful as before. 3 months later, at the end of autumn, the third medicine valley was still covered with many withered yellow leaves. In the early morning, Guan was leading his disciples in exercises, with Elder Tian also participating. Only Guan noticed that his body was sturdier than before. This guy's cultivation level had already reached core formation realm 9th layer. Guan had no idea how he managed to cultivate. Whenever Guan was around, he never caused a spiritual energy disturbance. After the exercises, Guan dismissed the disciples and headed towards the pavilion. 16 ancient gold-swallowing insects circled him, making him appear surrounded by golden stars. Just as he reached the bottom of the building, he stopped. He saw 2 figures swiftly approaching from the horizon. It was Vice Sect Leader Ji Hantian and Elder Gu Zong. Checking the medicinal herbs in the garden, Elder Tian glanced back and then turned away. After Gu Zong and Ji Hantian landed, they called Guan upstairs to talk. Upon entering the room, Gu Zong, as usual, laid down a restriction. Bang! Ji Hantian suddenly slammed the table, causing Guan's heart to race. Damn it! Every time they came, they had to slam the table? Guan really wanted to use the great yin-yang transformation, transform into a demon cultivator, and beat Ji Hantian violently. The furniture in this room was made of the finest wood. If it got damaged, he would feel a pang of heartache. Chu Tianqi has gone too far. I didn't expect the entire Chu family to be rotten to the core. Panin, you must write a book about this and show it to the world. The Supreme Sect is the orthodox sect of the world, and must be supervised by the world. Ji Hantian said furiously. Again? Guan remained silent. He shouldn't have shown mercy back then. Gu Zong sat down and said impatiently, "What's the rush? It seems you are completely unaware of his actions. I think you just want to be the sect leader. This time, don't use Panin as a tool. Panin is the banner of the Supreme Sect's disciples. This banner cannot become a weapon in the sect's power struggle." Guan looked at Gu Zong. At least he made sense. Ji Hantian sighed and said, "It's true, I want to be sect leader. I believe that if I become the sect leader, I can lead the Supreme Sect to greater heights. Look at the mess Chu Tianqi has made. His men are manufacturing demons of greed, and someone even plans to sacrifice an entire outer sect. I once thought he was the sword Venerable Fu Dao and trusted him, but he is not. Now the demon path is aggressive. Anti-Chu Tianqi sentiments have spread within the sect, morale is shaken, and the Supreme Sect is in grave danger. Manufacturing demons of greed? Guan was astonished. He had thought it was the Chu family's enemies creating the demons of greed per Chu Jingfeng's words. It seemed there were deeper secrets. Was it a clan feud, or a self-directed act? Chu Tianqi is indeed disappointing. When he punished Chu Xian's descendants back then, I thought he was sacrificing kin for the greater good. Now it seems it was just self-preservation. However, taking down Chu Tianqi is not easy. Many in the Hall of Elders were promoted by him, and he has good relations with the Daotian sect. Gu Zong shook his head as he spoke. Hearing this, Guan was confused. What were these two playing at? What was the point of discussing such matters with an outer disciple? They were probably putting on an act to stir his feelings, trying to make him outraged and willing to expose the dark side of the Supreme Sect. The two continued to criticize Chu Tianqi, listing his various wrongdoing deeds. As Guan listened, he couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. If Chu Tianqi had truly done all this, he was indeed unforgivable. However, Guan remained rational and unmoved. Gu Zong looked at Guan and said, "The Supreme Sect may face calamity soon. Your third medicine valley has too many medicinal herbs. It needs protection. We plan to send 50 core formation realm cultivators to guard the third medicine valley. What do you think?" Ji Hantian added, "The Gu and Ji families will each send 25 people. By the way, Xiaoyu is among them. This way, not only will she help you guard the medicine valley, but she will also stay away from the war." This finger technique could gather spiritual power and spiritual energy onto the fingertip, storing power to be released. The longer the compression time, the greater the destructive power. In theory, it had no limit. After listening, Guan became even more interested in the gathering spirit divine finger. The ancient sect and Jihantian moved quickly. 2 days later, 50 core formation realm cultivators arrived, including Gu An's son Guyu. Guyu was the first to come to Gu An's pavilion to look for him. Your connections are truly vast, being able to have the Gu family and Ji family each send 25 core formation realm disciples to protect you. These people are not just supreme sect disciples, they're all noble family offspring. Guyu sat down, teasingly remarked. Guan replied, "It's probably not to protect me, but to protect this medicine valley. Is there another such large medicine valley in the supreme sect?" "There is, but not as large and definitely not in the outer or inner sections. Mainly, it's because your identity as Pan makes the higher-ups take notice. If it's because of Pan An's identity, such ostentation exposes me, doesn't it?" True. In truth, Guan believed that the supreme sect was not protecting the medicine valley, but the 7th grade spirit tree within it, the mystic pure tree. Guyu did not dwell on this. He mysteriously took out a book and said, "Guan, you must read this book, it's too wonderful, and even has illustrations." Guan glanced at it, feeling speechless. Supreme Secret Records. Guyu had changed. He no longer pursued the latest updates on the Supreme Immortal Venerable. Guan felt a surge of frustration. Restraining his displeasure, he took the Supreme Secret Records. After flipping through a few pages, he was captivated. Goodness, Shenzhen had actually stolen techniques. The illustrations used comic-like action strokes, allowing one to imagine an entire sequence of movements, sparking endless thoughts. He faked a cough, closed the Supreme Secret Records, and tucked it into his chest, saying, "I'll read it later. With the demon path about to invade, I don't have the mind to read right now." Guyu secretly despised him, but outwardly said, "True, but keep this book safe. The Supreme Sect has been conducting strict inspections lately, making it hard to get this book. Rest assured." After a few more words, they went downstairs. Guyu flew to his designated post, while Guan began patrolling the medicinal herbs along the way. The 3rd medicine valley was vast, and now he could harvest almost every day, but he preferred to collect once a week. After all, even if the herbs matured, leaving them for a week wouldn't affect them much. An hour later, as Guan walked through the forest path, he sensed Ji Xiaoyu's presence. After some hesitation, he decided to pay a visit. Ji Xiaoyu had saved him, given him talisman treasures, formations, and a batch of medicinal herbs. It wouldn't be right not to greet her. After another half-hour of wandering, Guan arrived at a mountaintop. Ji Xiaoyu, in a purple robe, was meditating at the edge of the cliff, facing away from the 3rd medicine valley, with formations set around her, making Guan hesitant to cross the boundary. "Greetings, 3rd Mississippi." Guan cupped his hands in salute. He directly cast a lifespan detection. Ji Xiaoyu, Core Formation Realm 5th Layer 50/1400/8900, Core Formation Realm 5th Layer. Truly quick. With her back to him, Ji Xiaoyu said, "No need to come visit me in the future. You are the valley master of this medicine valley. Formalities are unnecessary. If 3rd Miss needs anything, you can always find me, or tell the disciples in the valley," Guan replied. Ji Xiaoyu responded. Guan suddenly didn't know what to say, so he prepared to take his leave. Ji Xiaoyu suddenly said, "Ji Hantian is my great-grandfather. If he makes unreasonable demands on you, you can come to me. After all, you belong to me." Guan hurriedly replied, "The vice sect leader hasn't troubled me. I know him too well. Since childhood, he used me to build momentum. Knowing you are Panin, he certainly won't miss the chance to use you. In the Supreme Sect, you can use my name to refuse any request you find difficult to turn down." Ji Xiaoyu's words brought a smile to Gu An's face. "Another patron. Write another investiture of the gods. I find your writings the most enjoyable." Ji Xiaoyu suddenly said, "So she was also a reader?" Guan replied, saying he was already preparing it. "You may leave now." Upon hearing this, Guan immediately saluted and departed. By evening, Guan arrived in Tianya Valley for the harvest day, expecting to collect 5 or 6,000 years of lifespan. Upon entering the valley, he felt a long-missed presence. Li Xiandao. Why was he here? Was there not a demon rebellion in Changluo, Songzhou? Valley Master, His Majesty is here, quickly go meet him inside. Luohun called from halfway up the mountain. Guan nodded, and then hurried toward the cluster of pavilions. Li Xiandao was staying in his pavilion, with LV Xian and Yi Luyan accompanying him. Upon seeing Guan enter, Li Xiandao smiled, motioned for LV Xian to be silent, and then smiled at Guan. Guan, long time no see. How is your cultivation progressing? After respectfully saluting, Guan replied, It's progressing well. Thanks to your majesty dividing so many herbal materials for me. I have now reached the 3rd layer of the foundation establishment realm. The 3rd layer is not enough, you must work harder. As long as you reach the 9th layer of the foundation establishment realm, I can help you form a core. Thank you, your majesty. I will certainly work hard. As Guan answered, he deliberately avoided looking at LV Xian. LV Xian glared at him, as if wanting to devour him, his expression both angry and resentful. Having taught Guan for so long, Guan had learned nothing. If it were not for Guan only coming once or twice a month, he would have suspected Guan was deliberately messing with him. Li Xiandao gestured for Guan to sit at the table, and Guan did so without hesitation. LV Xian and Yi Luyan remained standing, making LV Xian even more dissatisfied. Li Xiandao looked at Guan, examined him briefly, and softly asked, Has anything significant happened in the Supreme Sect recently? Guan frowned, hesitated, and said, I heard the Demon Path plans to besiege the Supreme Sect, and there are unfavorable rumors about the sect leader within the sect. He recounted what he had heard in detail, but did not mention his 3rd medicine valley. After Guan finished, Li Zuando's smile deepened. He laughed. Chu Tianqi is proud and arrogant, looks down on everyone, even his kin are seen as pawns. It's not surprising he did these things. My informant in the Demon Path also sent word. At the end of the year, the Demon Path will launch a full-scale attack on the Supreme Sect. Guan began to ponder Li Zuando's attitude toward the Supreme Sect. He asked confusedly, Doesn't the Demon Path fear Sword Venerable Fudao? They say Sword Venerable Fudao is the world's foremost sword cultivator. Li Xiandao shook his head. Of course they fear him, that's why they have waited until now to act. The true identity of Sword Venerable Fudao has been revealed within the Demon Path. While that person is strong, he is not invincible. That person? Guan was astonished. Someone was impersonating Laozi's fame? Li Xiandao again looked at Guan, earnestly said, A great battle between righteous and demonic forces is about to erupt. By rights, I should have you withdraw, but with Li Yi still there, I need you to keep an eye on the Supreme Sect for me. I will arrange for a nascent soul realm cultivator to protect you. How about that? Guan thanked him repeatedly, then said, Uncle, there's no need. I am just an outer sect disciple, unknown to the Demon Path. Assigning me a nascent soul realm cultivator would instead attract high-level attention from the Demon Path. Don't worry. This person is adept at concealing their energy. Even if their cultivation level is far above, they won't be detected. Li Xiandao waved his hand dismissively. Can't refuse? Guan looked at Li Xiandao, weighing his options. Li Xiandao continued. You are my man, I naturally can't let anything happen to you. Besides, this person has a very good relationship with Li Yi. You could introduce them to Li Yi later. With it said to such an extent, Guan certainly couldn't refuse. Half an hour later, Guan took his leave and began to harvest the mature medicinal herbs. Li Xiandao, from within the pavilion, could see Guan working diligently. He sighed. This youngster is steady in his work, very much to my liking. You must take good care of him. LV Xian couldn't help but say. Your Majesty, are you hinting at me? I just want to ask, who is more important to you among Li Yi and the Crown Prince? Yi Luyan frowned but did not stop LV Xian. Li Xiandao chuckled. They are both important. What are you worried about? Li Yi isn't staying in Changluo. He poses no threat to the Crown Prince. Unless what? Unless Liya masters the Emperor-level sword technique. Chapter 84 Shrouding the Sky and Blocking the Sun, Heaven-Swallowing Dark Bird. Learning the Emperor-level sword technique secures the position of Crown Prince? Guan picked herbs while eavesdropping. The Emperor-level sword technique, now that was something he knew well. In the future, perhaps he could ask Liya about it. If Liya wanted to compete for the throne, he might offer some pointers. Wait. This old man had some malicious intentions. Guan felt uneasy, suddenly suspecting that Li Xiandao had said it deliberately for him to hear, as the pavilion hadn't been isolated by any restrictive barriers. Another thought struck him. Li Zuando's ambition was to become an immortal emperor. For an emperor, the greatest threat could be the crown prince. Even without pursuing immortal cultivation, a mortal emperor in his old age would be wary of the crown prince. Not many crown princes smoothly inherit the throne. Could it be that Li Xiandao wanted to use Liya to eliminate the crown prince? It's quite possible. Guan stopped thinking about it, focusing on picking herbs and letting the father and son deal with each other. Because of Li Zuando's presence, Guan didn't leave immediately after finishing collecting the herbs. He only left the next morning. When he was leaving, Li Xiandao hadn't left yet, saying he wanted to stay for a while longer. Guan suspected that Li Xiandao wanted to watch the drama of the righteous and demonic conflict. After returning to Mystic Valley, Guan instructed Wuxia and others, telling them that the demon path was about to invade, and that they shouldn't wander around casually, making all the disciples, including Wuxia, very nervous. Guan planned to stay overnight in Mystic Valley from now on. The third Medicine Valley had Elder Tian and 50 core formation realm cultivators, making it very safe. Mystic Valley was different, with only a group of servant disciples. Currently, Mystic Valley contributed less and less to his lifespan income, but the 8 scenic caves beneath Mystic Valley were different. Even if Mystic Valley's lifespan income wasn't much, he was reluctant to abandon it. 10 days later, the nascent soul realm cultivator arranged by Li Xiandao arrived at Mystic Valley. Guan stood in front of the wooden fence, watching from a distance as a woman in green with a sword walked over, her conical hat swaying in the cold wind, accentuating her ethereal presence. Yang Ni Nascent Soul Realm, 9 layers 214/780/1360. A nascent soul realm cultivator at 200 years old, quite impressive quality. Guan thought silently, then stepped towards Yang Ni. I am Guan, the Valley Master of this Medicine Valley. May I know who you are? As he approached, he raised his hand and asked. Yang Ni suddenly appeared in front of him, so he pretended to be startled and took a step back. Let me see your other Valley Master token. Yang Ni transmitted her voice, her tone cold yet melodious. Just by the sound, one could tell she was a beauty. Guan immediately produced the token from Tianya Valley. Yang Ni snatched it, inspected it, and then returned it to him. I was sent by His Majesty to protect you. I will be your outer disciple from now on. Yang Ni transmitted her voice again. Guan nodded and said, You must have been recommended by Elder Han. I have been waiting for you for a long time. After saying this, he turned and led Yang Ni towards the pavilion. Yang Ni followed him inside, attracting curious glances from other disciples in the valley. Her appearance naturally drew people to take a second look. Once inside, Guan closed the door and said, Everyone here is in the Qi cultivation realm, so you don't need to worry. Yang Ni waved her hand, and spiritual power turned into a green restriction, imprinting on the door. Very cautious. After doing this, Yang Ni walked to the table, put down her treasure sword, and removed her conical hat, letting her waterfall-like white hair cascade down. She turned to look at Guan, her face remarkably youthful, appearing just over 20. Her features were exquisite and delicate, but her eyes carried a coldness that gave her the aura of an ice queen. This coldness made it easy to overlook her beauty, making people afraid to look directly at her. She scrutinized Guan and asked, I heard you have a good relationship with Liya? Indeed, senior brother Li was also a servant disciple in this Medicine Valley. We joined on the same day. Guan responded. Hearing this, Yang and I smiled, her smile stunningly captivating. Guan didn't think much of it, as he knew Ji Xiaoyu was even more beautiful. That stubborn child never got along with his siblings, yet he managed to build a friendship with a servant disciple like you. Yang and I said, admiringly. That statement. From her storage bag, Yang and I took out a blue jade bracelet, saying, "This is a top-grade magic artifact that can store spiritual power. Consider it a gift for our first meeting." Store spiritual power? How rare. Guan quickly waved his hand and said, "I can't accept this. You are here to protect me. How could I dare to take your gift?" "Just take it. Li Ya's mother is my sister. Since you're close to Li Ya, you're naturally considered my junior." Yang and I said impatiently, tossing the jade bracelet to him, and then turning to the bookshelf. "You go about your business. Don't concern yourself with me." Guan caught the jade bracelet, wanting to say this was his building, and it wasn't convenient. But seeing Yang and I's stance, obviously wanting to stay, he could only give up. Ever since his encounter with Shenzhen, Guan no longer left anything incriminating in the building, so he hesitated briefly before leaving without disturbing Yang and I. Yang and I's presence didn't disrupt the rhythm of life in Mystic Valley, as she rarely left her room and didn't interact with other disciples. When Guan planned to go to the Third Medicine Valley, she insisted on accompanying him, leaving him no choice but to take her along. Upon arriving at the Third Medicine Valley, she was shocked, beginning to reassess Guan. This servant disciple was no simple character. Guan also wasn't afraid she'd report to Li Xiandao. Perhaps Li Xiandao had long discovered the Third Medicine Valley. It was hard to hide this matter. After all, he had a clear conscience. If Li Xiandao grew suspicious of him because of this, he didn't care. In his mind, he feared Li Xiandao far less than the Supreme Sect. Thus, Yang and I followed Guan as he patrolled the Medicine Valley, watching him pick herbs and sow seeds. A month later, Yang and I developed some goodwill towards Guan. Guan was too honest, and treated the servant disciples very kindly. Such a person posed no threat to anyone. She also understood why Li Ya could favor Guan. Days passed one after another. Snowflakes flew, covering every part of Guan's Medicine Valley. Li Xiandao had said that the demon path would invade the Supreme Sect at the end of the year, making Guan worry about this every day. Perhaps any day now, the demon path would attack. On this day, Mystic Valley, Guan and Wuxia led the disciples in shoveling snow, with Yang and I standing at a distance by the wooden fence, holding her sword. "Senior brother, what realm is that outer disciple in?" Wuxia whispered to Guan, very curious. Yang and I's stance alone looked very strong. "What's it to you? She's my disciple. Don't get any ideas," Guan said in a bad mood. Wuxia chuckled. "Senior brother, you know me so well. When are you going to get me a Foundation Establishment Realm disciple, as an assistant? I would be so impressive wherever I go. If I really arranged it, would you dare accept?" Hearing this, Wuxia seemed to remember something, grinning awkwardly and falling silent. Guan continued to shovel snow. After a while he seemed to sense something, furrowing his brow, but he didn't stop working. In the distance, Yang and I also sensed something. She leaped to the southern mountaintop, attracting everyone's gaze in the valley. Snow flew incessantly, casting the world in a white blur. From within the valley, Yang and I's silhouette on the mountaintop appeared faint, as if she might be swallowed by the violent snowstorm at any moment. "What's wrong with her?" Wuxia couldn't help but ask Guan. Guan looked up and said, "I don't know either. We'll ask her when she comes down." Goo goo. A light bird cry echoed, reverberating through the world, even masking the sound of the wind. The sudden bird cry made everyone frown, looking around, trying to find the source of the sound. Wuxia seemed to remember something, his face changing dramatically. He hurriedly shouted, "Everyone back to the rooms! Quick!" As he spoke, he pulled Guan towards the pavilion group. Guan shook off his hand and said, "You all head inside. I need to watch the Medicine Valley." Wuxia turned and said urgently, "That's the heaven-swallowing dark bird of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, a demonic beast that Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators can't deal with. You go inside first. am not going to fight it. Don't forget your identity, Guan said sternly. Hearing this, Wuxia could only grit his teeth and run inside. Soon, only Guan remained in the valley, while the disciples all leaned out of their windows, watching the sky in extreme tension. Guan already sensed the presence of the heaven-swallowing dark bird. Very strong, comparable to the void-crossing realm. Whoosh! A fierce wind came from the south, stirring up a snowstorm that swept through the Medicine Valley. Guan, watching the swaying herbs, felt distressed but couldn't expose his cultivation level in front of Yang and I and the other disciples. He could only go to the section with the highest grade herbs, and use his foundation establishment realm spiritual power to protect them. At this moment, Yang and I suddenly appeared beside him, taking out a large flag and planting it in the ground. She raised her palm to infuse spiritual power into the flagpole. The flag fluttered, forming a light screen that enveloped them, blocking the wind and snow. Yang and I breathed a sigh of relief, turning to Guan and scolding. Are you crazy? What do these herbs have to do with you? Can't you sense the demonic qi? Guan replied. I sensed it, but if I can sense it, the great cultivators from the Supreme Sect will definitely. Boom. A terrifying pressure descended suddenly. Guan looked up, as did Wuxia and the other disciples. Everyone's eyes widened. The vast snowy mist was dispersed, revealing an enormous bird covering the sky. It flew over Mystic Valley, plunging the valley into darkness that wouldn't dissipate for some time. Even someone as calm as Guan was stunned by the heaven-swallowing dark bird's size. In his view, its wingspan exceeded 100 miles, extremely exaggerated. On the bird's back were numerous demonic cultivators, at least 10,000 of them. Its destination was precisely the outer gate city of the Supreme Sect. That's the heaven-swallowing dark bird of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, a 6th-tier demonic beast with the power to destroy empires. It's my first time seeing it too. Yang and I muttered, gazing up at the sky in awe, her eyes showing fear. Guan didn't say anything, focusing on the heaven-swallowing dark bird, hoping it wouldn't target his Mystic Valley. When the bird flew past Mystic Valley, sunlight poured down, illuminating the Medicine Valley while snowflakes fell, creating a scene of cascading white mist. All the disciples in the valley sighed in relief at this sight. Guan already sensed the aura of great cultivators fighting in the distance. Void-crossing realm. And there were more than 2. The battle was quite far away, likely occurring at another outer gate city. Chapter 85. The First Trial of the Divine Finger. Su Lian Demon Lord Outer Gate City. The city wall was lined with outer disciples, including Yilan and Zhenqin. They frowned and looked into the distance. Not just them, all the disciples were looking in the same direction, as if facing a great enemy. Heavy snow covered the land and mountains. The wind howled, and amidst the swirling snow, the outlines of mountains could be seen faintly. Goo-goo. A mysterious bird cry rang out again, as if beings from the underworld were approaching, causing the hearts of the disciples on the wall to pound like war drums. Gradually, a shadow appeared in the snow-covered expanse, making all the disciples' faces change. What is that? Zhenqin stammered, her voice low as if asking herself. Yilan's eyes were also wide open. She considered herself knowledgeable, yet she was stunned by the current sight. The enormous shadow resembled a black ocean advancing, vast and boundless, connecting the ends of the sky. The mysterious bird cries grew louder. Anyone facing such a huge shadow would feel fear, as if an abyss was approaching. A tremendous pressure emanated from within the city, startling the disciples into turning their heads. They saw dozens of flying swords soaring into the sky, surrounded by golden spiritual power. With a roar, the flying sword shot forward, gathering golden spiritual power together, resembling a giant golden phoenix flying over the city wall. The golden phoenix spread its wings over 100 feet wide, magnificent in momentum. Yet, when it flew towards the terrifying shadow at the horizon, it seemed small. The golden phoenix tore through the flying snow, unstoppable, crashing into the terrifying shadow. Immediately, golden light burst forth. The howling wind and snow forced the outer disciples on the wall to raise their arms to shield themselves. Your Excellency Demon Emperor, what are you waiting for? A cold voice rang out, drowning out all other sounds in the world. On the heavenly repair platform, the underworld Demon Emperor slowly rose. In the distance, a great cultivator at the 5th level of the Void Crossing realm stood up facing him, their eyes meeting. I didn't expect you to be the legendary underworld Demon Emperor. You hid well. This Supreme Sect elder spoke coldly, raising his right hand, a jade ruler appearing in his grasp. Several other Supreme Sect cultivators stood up, each exuding an aura far surpassing the divinity transformation realm, causing the other cultivators on the platform to stand up and retreat. The ghost mother of Ephemera retreated as well, looking no different from ordinary cultivators. Heh. The underworld Demon Emperor let out a chilling laugh. His calm face quickly contorted as waves of demonic chi surged from his robe, spreading in all directions. Rumble. The sound of thunder came from the sky, as rolling thunderclouds surged from all directions, pressing down on the flying snow, forming a thick white mist, creating an oppressive atmosphere. The underworld Demon Emperor raised his eyes, a mocking expression on his face. He suddenly squatted down, slapping the ground, causing the demonic chi covering the heavenly repair platform to churn violently. Evil ghosts crawled out of the demonic fog, letting out roars that shook the heavens and earth. The great battle between righteous and demon paths erupted. In Mystic Valley, Guan was leading the disciples in inspecting the medicinal herbs. The wind howled, causing snow on the mountains to slide continuously, and the distant rumbling persisted. Yang and I stood next to Guan, not shoveling snow, her eyes fixed on the sky, frowning. Wuxia approached Guan nervously. Senior brother, the commotion is quite loud. Guan cursed inwardly. Didn't Jiang Qiong say it wouldn't reach this outer gate city? Why did it feel like the demon path was invading from here? Don't worry, the Supreme Sect won't be easily breached. Guan consoled. He felt the intense demonic chi in the outer gate city, but didn't know where it came from. Wuxia was worried, but his hands didn't stop moving, a result of Guan's years of teaching. As thunderclouds gradually covered the sky, the snow began to weaken, which was good for Mystic Valley. After clearing the snow from various gardens, Guan had Wuxia gather the disciples together while he and Yang and I stood far away. Can the Supreme Sect really hold out? What is that sound? It's terrifying. I don't know what the situation is in the outer gate city. It's a good thing we're in the Medicine Valley. Who knows, maybe a demon cultivator will target us. Shut up, you jinx. The disciples were tense and fearful, unable to calm down. The pressure from the great cultivator's battle, the demonic chi, the demonic pressure, and various other conditions stimulated their senses. They had never experienced such feelings before. Guan glanced at the disciples 100 feet away, then looked at Yang and I beside him, asking via voice transmission, with your strength, how strong an enemy can you deal with? As long as it's not a divinity transformation realm, I can kill as many as come. Yang Nis' response was confident, but Guan wasn't pleased, because it was certain there would be divinity transformation realm enemies. At this moment, a figure flew in from the distance at high speed, landing quickly in the valley. Who else but Liya? Senior brother Li. Wuxia called out in surprise. Liya was an inner sect disciple, a genuine core formation realm expert. His arrival was enough to excite Wuxia. As for Yang and I, Wuxia viewed her as merely a foundation establishment realm cultivator. Surely not as strong as Liya. Liya ignored Wuxia, quickly approaching Guan, his gaze assessing Yang and I with a slight frown. He then looked at Guan, urgently saying, Junior brother Gu, evacuate. It's too dangerous here. Now all the outer gate cities and inner gate cities are in a great battle. There's a traitor in the Supreme Sect, using a teleportation array to send enemies in. Ha! Liya didn't recognize Yang and I? Guan's face turned serious. I can't abandon the Medicine Valley. And even if we escape, where can we go? Honestly, Liya's arrival both moved and troubled him. Guan wasn't actually panicked about the demon path invasion. He just didn't like having people around, making it inconvenient to take action. Isn't it easy to hide? We can't stay in the Medicine Valley, Leah said gravely. Guan shook his head. If you want to hide, you hide. Senior Brotherly, you don't need to save me. I can't abandon my disciples. Mystic Valley had more than 20 servant disciples, making it difficult to move together. It was a good excuse for him. Leah was about to speak when Yang and I suddenly said, "Someone's coming." Leah instinctively looked up, as did Guan. They saw rolling thunderclouds forming a huge vortex in the sky, with a figure falling from it, aiming directly at Mystic Valley. The figure descended like a falling star, landing on a northern mountain peak, raising snow and mist. Wuxia, you sure made it hard for me to find you. I didn't expect you to be hiding here. Where did you get the courage to infiltrate the Supreme Sect as a spy? A contemptuous, cold laugh echoed through Mystic Valley, startling everyone to look at Wuxia. The disciples around Wuxia exclaimed and retreated. Wuxia looked up at the person on the peak with a grim face, eyes full of hatred. The person on the peak wore a blood-patterned black robe, with disheveled hair and handsome features, but his brows were full of killing intent. His smile was hideous as he looked at Wuxia like a crawling insect. Bai Wu, first layer of Nascent Soul Realm 203/790/980. Guan saw the result of the lifespan detection, and remained unflustered. He dared to let the other party enter the valley, sensing their cultivation level wasn't a threat. He was just being cautious, verifying it. Leah frowned, looking at Wuxia from afar, a flicker of killing intent in his eyes. Wuxia seemed to know Bai Wu's fierceness, gritting his teeth. I'll go back with you, just don't hurt anyone else. That won't do. My orders are to kill everyone in the Supreme Sect, including insignificant servant disciples. Bai Wu licked his lips, taunting. And who said I was taking you back? Today, you will be buried with them. I can bring your head back. Humph. A cold snort suddenly sounded, making Bai Wu's pupils shrink. He glanced over reflexively to see a woman in green appear next to him out of thin air, drawing her sword to slash. It was Yang and I. He leaped aside but still got slashed on the arm, blood splattering. Yang and I continued her assault, the two battling on the peak. Sword chi surged and demonic chi spread like mist. They quickly flew into the sky to fight. Leah couldn't help but look at Guan, asking, "Who is she?" "Your mother's sister, Yang and I. Don't you recognize her?" Guan replied quietly. Leah's expression became bewildered, mumbling, "Why is it her?" Guan noted his expression, feeling puzzled. What did that mean? Could it be they didn't get along? Guan didn't ask and said, "I'll check the forest, there's a lot of medicinal herbs planted in there." Saying that, he ran towards the woods. Leah wanted to stop him, but Yang and I's battle captured his attention. Damn it! Leah cursed, leaping to support Yang and I. In truth, Yang and I didn't need his help. She was already overwhelming Bai Wu. Within 10 breaths, Bai Wu was covered in blood. Despite his wide and aggressive spells, Yang Ni's movement technique was too exquisite, allowing her to dodge easily. Seeing Bai Wu so miserable, Wuxian's eyes widened. He hadn't expected Yang and I to be so formidable. Where did Senior Brother find such a powerful great cultivator? On another side, Guan reached the forest's edge, turning his back to Mystic Valley, looking at the distant mountains. He raised his right hand, thumb pressing on middle finger, aiming into the distance. He sensed a void-crossing realm presence hundreds of miles away, lingering suspiciously. Too close to his Medicine Valley, it must be killed. Just the right time to test Elder Tian's Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. He had mastered Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. Though not proficient, it should be enough to kill a void-crossing realm demon cultivator. Spiritual power compressed at his middle finger. He didn't gather surrounding spiritual energy, fearing it would alert Yang and I and the others. Hundreds of miles away, on a flat land between the mountains, a group of demon cultivators was assembling an array platform. A formidable demon cultivator stood nearby, watching quietly. He was named Su Lian, one of the demon lords of the Heavenly Extinction Sect, at the 4th level of Void Crossing Realm, toying with a white flame in his right hand, his expression indifferent. A Heavenly Extinction Sect disciple approached softly. "Master, the array should be completed in half an hour." Su Lian Demon Lord replied indifferently. "Finish it immediately, prepare." Before he could finish, his face suddenly changed, instinctively looking aside. Chapter 86 Elder Tian's Resolve. Demons overwhelming the sky. When Su Lian Demon Lord spoke, his thoughts had already floated inside the Supreme Sect. This great war concerned the Millennium Chi fortune of the Huanin sect, even its rise and fall. He could not wait to join the battle. However, before he could finish his sentence, he instinctively sensed the terrifying aura of danger and glanced sideways. Everything happened too quickly. Even he, a great cultivator with a void-crossing realm 4th layer cultivation level, had no time to react. In his eyes, a semi-transparent airflow was killing its way forward at an inconceivable speed, passing through the mountains and causing the heavens and the earth to appear distorted. His disciple standing in front of him was still looking at him. And all disciples who were building the array platform stopped. Everything fell into stillness. Only the aura of death approached rapidly. Boom! A massive airflow tore through the sky and struck the plain between the mountains. Su Lian Demon Lord and a group of demon cultivators were directly pulverized into flying ash. A strong light burst forth, engulfing the surrounding mountains and devouring everything in its path. Above Mystic Valley, Yang and I, Liya, Bai Wu, and others who were fighting were startled, all pulling back and turning around to see. An impressive brilliance appeared on the horizon, and they felt a horrifying pressure coming, their faces changing dramatically. Liya hurriedly flew toward the forest below, quickly finding Guan was hiding behind a tree, pretending to shiver. Seeing him safe, Liya sighed in relief, and was about to speak when a terrible gale blew from the distance, pushing the trees backward and causing the peaks to tremble violently. Liya hurried to Guan's side, shielding with his spiritual power. "What's happening?" Guan asked through gritted teeth, his tone full of fear. Liya's expression was grave. He said quietly, "Not sure, probably a great cultivator fighting." At this time, a series of prompts popped up before Guan's eyes. You have successfully seized 47 years of Su Lian Demon Lord, Void Crossing Realm 4th Layer, Lifespan. You have successfully seized 35 years of Zhang Zhongcheng, Core Formation Realm 2nd Layer, Lifespan. You have successfully seized 42 years of Chen Duyuan, Core Formation Realm 6th Layer, Lifespan. Altogether 26 people. The lowest cultivation was also in the Core Formation Realm, including 2 nascent Soul Realm cultivators. Sin. Guan secretly repented not because he wanted to go on a killing spree, but because this group approached his Medicine Valley. The gale pressed on, lasting for a long time. After the storm calmed, Liya stood up straight. He whispered, "It seems we can only hide in Medicine Valley for now. There's danger everywhere." "I told you." "First, follow me into the valley." Liya pulled Guan and walked into Mystic Valley. Just as they entered the valley, Yang and I descended from the sky, carrying a bloody head and Bai Wu's nascent soul hanging on her sword blade. At this moment, she was full of killing intent, making the disciples in the valley dare not approach. Yang and I threw Bai Wu's head in front of Wuxin, then shook her sword, shattering Bai Wu's nascent soul. She raised her sword toward Wuxin, coldly asking, "Do you have any last words?" Wuxin turned pale, trembling all over. "Stop!" Guan quickly rushed over to stand in front of Wuxin. Yang Ni's eyes were cold. She said, "He is from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. But he's been with us for decades and has never harmed us. He probably has no choice. Once this is over, it'll make him leave the Supreme Sect." Guan said through gritted teeth, determined. His words made Yang and I frown. Wuxin was very moved. He dared not look at the other disciples, wishing he could find a hole to hide in at that moment. Yang and I took a step forward, her sword tip almost reaching Guan's throat. Guan glanced at Liya, shouting, "Senior brother Li, say something." Liya frowned and walked over, pushing Yang Ni's sword away, saying, "Let's give him that." Clearly, those demon cultivators had a grudge against Wuxin. Yang and I sheathed her sword and turned away. Guan turned to Wuxin and said, "Sorry, senior brother, we won't be able to keep you here in the future. Returning to the Thousand Autumn Pavilion will surely bring you torment. Find a place to hide and live under a different name. As long as you have goodness in your heart, No matter where you come from, you can be a good person. His sincere words made Wuxia tear up. He knelt with a thud, kowtowing to him. Li Ya's frown relaxed, sighing slightly. Yang and I glanced at Guan, her eyes showing surprise. Listening to Gu An's words, it was evident that he had long known Wuxia's identity, and Wuxia seemed unwilling to be a cultivator of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Guan pulled Wuxia up and had him hide inside the house to avoid being recognized by other disciples from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Leah looked at Yang and I and transmitted a message. Why are you here? Do you need to ask? Tell him, I don't want to fight for the throne. But he said he owed your mother and had to pass the throne to you. The crown prince is virtuous, talented, and has a 3-spirit root qualification. He is the ideal crown prince. It's useless to tell me this. The two communicated through voice transmission. Yang and I kept her eyes fixed on Guan, her thoughts unknown. Leah reminded through voice transmission. Do not harm my junior brother, or I won't recognize anyone. Yang and I ignored him. After Baiwu's attack, Mystic Valley fell silent. The disciples gathered in the courtyard, murmuring, all discussing Wuxia's identity. The calamity of the Supreme Sect continued. More battles erupted, and the pressure of battle increased. Guan kept an eye on the Qinghong sword at his waist. Fortunately, it did not show any signs of encountering danger, like the White Spirit sword would. An ancient hour later, no more demon cultivators came to Mystic Valley. Guan could not remain still any longer. He found Li Ya and told him he was going to another Medicine Valley, leaving Li Ya and Yang and I to guard Mystic Valley. Li Ya knew that the Medicine Valley was in the inner sect, certainly safer than Mystic Valley, so he nodded in agreement. This time, Yang and I did not cling to Guan. In her mind, Li Ya was naturally more important. Before leaving, Guan left an ancient gold-swallowing insect inside the house. He had established a soul connection with every ancient gold-swallowing insect, and could get updates on Mystic Valley through the insect at any time. After stepping onto the transmission array platform, Guan quickly arrived at the third Medicine Valley. As soon as he arrived, he heard deafening roars from all directions. He opened his eyes to see dark clouds rolling in the sky. Although it was winter, the air was filled with summer heat. Seeing him arrive, Xiaochuan immediately came up, forcibly suppressing his panic, and asked, Senior brother, what should we do? Guan noticed Elder Tian was still there, so he did not panic. He immediately cast a lifespan detection while answering, Don't panic, trust our sect. LV Batian, Nascent Soul Realm 9 Layers 754/1560/3200 Goodness, that realm rose quickly. It was stable. Guan thought to himself, curious about where Elder Tian's absorbed spiritual energy came from. He told Xiaochuan to stay nearby and not run around, then he walked away, intending to patrol the Medicine Valley. Passing by Elder Tian, he sensed a hidden and strong spiritual energy flow within Elder Tian's body, which shocked him. Elder Tian was not absorbing nature's spiritual energy. Was his spiritual power born out of nothing within his body? This feeling. It was as if Elder Tian had a portal to an exotic world inside his body, spiritual power endlessly pouring out from it. Very strange. What cultivation technique was this guy practicing? Valley Master, battles are happening everywhere, don't run around. Elder Tian's voice came. He turned his head to see Elder Tian sitting cross-legged under a tree, eyes closed. His posture was completely different from usual, his body straight, exuding an indescribable air of power. I'll go check on those medicinal herbs, won't run around. Guan left in haste, tossing these words behind. Elder Tian opened his eyes, watching his back, showing a look of gratification. With such disciples, how could I bear to see the Supreme Sect fall? Elder Tian murmured. Guan, who had run 100 feet away, heard it. Guan kept his face expressionless as if he hadn't heard it. He genuinely cared about those medicinal herbs. The 50 Foundation Establishment Realm disciples guarding Medicine Valley were all in battle, including Ji Xiaoyu and Gu Yu, each fighting multiple enemies with a dire situation. Along the way, Guan quickly checked the medicinal herbs. He picked any that were about to mature to prevent them from being damaged in the battle. A real loss if that happened. While advancing, Guan heard a cry. Looking up, he saw fiery Qilins appearing on the horizon, with a figure hidden in the leading Qilin. It was Ji Xiaoyu. Qilin step. She took a step, her figure like a ghost. The fiery Qilin collided with a demon cultivator in the core formation realm, smashing him to pieces, and the golden core melted, displaying overwhelming power. Guan felt her aura and speed were on par with low-level nascent soul realm cultivators. Ji Xiaoyu seemed to sense his gaze and glanced back during the battle. She practiced Qilin's step, casting spells with her sword, unmatched by anyone. Gradually, more demon cultivators swarmed toward her, with various spells attacking her from all directions grandly. Ji Xiaoyu's eyes sharpened, and a powerful wave burst from her body, blasting away the surrounding demon cultivators by miles. Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators exploded on the spot. She raised the treasure sword in her right hand and thrust it skyward. Spiritual power surged up the blade and shot into the sky, forming a golden disc 10 miles in diameter, containing profound and mysterious runes. Gu An's keen eyes easily recognized that the wave Ji Xiaoyu had just released was a divine skill, Heaven and Earth Path Gang. Previously, Jiang Qiong had stolen the divine power collection containing Heaven and Earth Path Gang from the Ji family's birthday banquet, which Guan often contemplated. As for the divine skill after Heaven and Earth Path Gang, he hadn't seen it but could sense a power beyond core formation realm. This lattice talent and comprehension were truly terrifying. To master 2 divine skills at the core formation realm, golden dragon shadows burst forth from the golden phenomenon, like a dragon herd coming from other worlds, rushing toward demon cultivators everywhere, scaring them into panicked evasion. Some cast spells to resist, but their spiritual power was shredded by the golden dragons. Then they were hit and swallowed into the dragons' mouths. As they were mere shadows, Guan could see the demon cultivators swallowed, burned alive by mysterious golden flames until nothing remained. After moving forward 10 miles, Guan found no demon cultivators within 5 miles of Ji Xiaoyu. In one breath, she had killed over 100 core formation realm cultivators, and more than 300 Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. That was just what Guan saw. She had fought for a long time before he arrived. Ji Xiaoyu hovered in midair, holding her sword, breathing slightly, with sweat beading on her snow-white forehead. She suddenly turned around, her brows furrowed. Following her gaze, countless monsters and evil ghosts like a black ocean approached from the horizon, densely packed, impossible to count. In front of the monster army was a black-robed man standing on a bone sword, holding a large black flag. Ji family's Qilin step, Heaven and Earth Path Gang, and Heavenly Dragon Demon Suppressing Form. At such a young age you have mastered so many powerful techniques. If you grow further, you will dominate the world single-handedly. The black-robed man's icy voice rang out, followed by a terrifying pressure enveloping all the world. Chapter 87. Angry Guan. LV Baitian descends. Guan, who was picking medicinal herbs, heard the words of the black-robed man and couldn't help but look up. With a clear view, he could see that person's face clearly, so he cast a lifespan detection on him. Let's see what cultivation level you have, boasting like that. Suju Void Crossing Realm, 9th layer 982/2200/2300 Void Crossing Realm, 9th layer. Impressive. Guan looked from a distance. He had no intention of making a move. Perhaps there was a great cultivator from the Ji family watching over Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Suju, her eyes indifferent, showing no fear of his almost overwhelming aura. The heavenly dragon demon suppressing form above her head began to descend, then stood upright and hovered behind her. Strands of golden dragons emerged from it, surrounding her, making her look like the master of a dragon horde, majestic and imposing. Seeing that Ji Xiaoyu was preparing to fight, Suju's face showed a sneer. He raised the black banner in his hand, and was about to speak when a cold snort resounded through the heavens and earth. Suju, as the vice-sect hierarch of the Huanin sect, bullying a junior. Don't you feel ashamed? Vice-sect hierarch of the Huanin sect? Guan remembered Lin Futian, saying that Su Rui's father was already the vice-sect hierarch of the Huanin sect. So it's him. As Guan thought about this, he continued moving forward. Suju raised an eyebrow and snorted. Ji Chun, I didn't expect you to come as well. It's time to settle our old scores. He leaped up and dived into the thunderclouds. Immediately, deafening roars came from the clouds, and the boundless thunderclouds began to churn violently, with occasional rays of light piercing through them and spilling down to the mortal world. A torrent of demons roared, rushing towards the third medicine valley like wild beasts off the leash. The aura of these demons and evil spirits was not weak. They ran swiftly in the air, exuding a palpable sense of oppression. Ji Xiaoyu raised her sword, and the golden dragons from the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form immediately charged into the demon army, unstoppable. But the number of demons and evil spirits was simply too great. The golden dragons couldn't kill them all. After rampaging for over 10 miles, they dissipated as their spiritual power faded. Guan entered the forest to clear the snow accumulated in the garden area. Many medicinal herbs were crushed by the snow, causing him great distress. At the same time, his killing intent began to grow. Fight all you want, tear it all you want, just don't damage my medicinal herbs. Guan's heart was trembling. While he was worried about the medicinal herbs, Ji Xiaoyu had already fallen into the demon's encirclement. She no longer used sorcery, but fought with her twin swords, cutting down one demon or evil spirit with each strike, her momentum like a rainbow. Soon, other disciples at the core formation realm came to support her, but their numbers were still insignificant compared to the demon army. Goo goo. The cry of the heaven-swallowing dark bird suddenly sounded, drowning out all the roars of the demons and evil spirits. Guan felt annoyed. Why hasn't this creature been killed by the great cultivators of the supreme sect? Just then, Guan suddenly sensed something. He turned his head and saw, 30 miles away, a resentful cat demon that had been cut in half fell into a garden area, its body thrashing in pain, crushing patches of medicinal herbs. His eyes narrowed, and a streak of sword chi shot out from the ground, killing the resentful cat demon. Looking up, he saw more demons falling like rain into the third medicine valley. Guan's face instantly turned gloomy, and he moved his right foot to the side. At the same time, the battle in the sky remained intense. Guyu wielded a long whip, swinging it like a dragon. He shouted, "Everyone, do you have backers? Call for help quickly. My father is blocking the demons in the cold poison valley." The disciples fighting were all from the Gu and Ji families, each with a background. Without his urging, some had already taken out secret treasures, summoning reinforcements. In an instant, various rays of light and dazzling spirit lights burst forth, traversing the battlefield. In the midst of the battle, Ji Xiaoyu suddenly looked down, her face changed slightly. She saw green lights appearing on the mountains and rivers below her. These lights were rapidly growing, as if a vast green ocean would soon rise from the ground, a magnificent sight. In the distance, under a tree, Elder Tian, who was meditating, suddenly opened his eyes and turned to look towards the battlefield, his brow furrowed. Such an immense spiritual power. Is it from the Gu family or the Ji family? Elder Tian felt puzzled. He could sense that the vast spiritual power was meant to protect the medicine valley, so he wasn't worried and continued to practice. The green spiritual power covered half of the third medicine valley. Even the servant disciples near the pavilion area saw this from afar. What is that? Is this a spell? It seems to be protecting our medicine valley. It should be one of ours. What kind of battle is happening over there? At the edge of the third medicine valley, on a mountain peak, Shen Zhen stood on a cliff. From her vantage point, she could overlook the vast sea of spiritual power. She immediately took out pen and paper, and began to sketch. Suddenly, her pupils shrank sharply. The green spirit sea burst out countless streaks of green sword chi. An unimaginable number of green sword chi rose into the sky, an awe-inspiring sight. Swish. 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 The sound of sword chi slicing through the air echoed through the heavens and the earth. The disciples of the Gu and Ji families were all shocked and dodged, but they soon realized that the sword chi was aimed at the demons. One by one, the demons and evil spirits were exterminated. the sky blooming with blood-colored fireworks, tragically beautiful. Ji Xiaoyu stopped, staring at the green sword qi around her, secretly astonished. What kind of sorcery is this? The spiritual power contained in these sword qi was beyond her reach. She felt that even her great-grandfather was not its match. The green sword qi did more than just rise into the air. It could also hunt down demons. In less than 10 breaths, the world fell silent. Countless streaks of green sword qi hovered in the air. Blood mist filled the sky, but could not obscure their presence. The sword qi dissipated, and there were no more traces of demons or evil spirits. All the fighting disciples were stunned, staring blankly around. In the forest, Guan exhaled softly. This wave of exertion took a toll, not just in casting the spell, but also in controlling the sword qi to avoid harming the Supreme Sect disciples. Looking at the prompts that kept popping up, his face darkened. You successfully gained 2 years of life from the resentful cat demon, Tier 3. You successfully gained 1 year of life from the flying winged snake, Tier 2. You successfully gained 1 year of life from the greedy dog, Tier 2. All were 1 year or 2 years of life, and the proportion of 2 years of life was minimal. No sign of those evil spirits' lifespans. What's going on? Guan frowned deeply. He thought of the black banner in Suju's hand. Could it be that these demons weren't normal living beings? Thinking carefully, it made sense. This was the inner sect. How could the demon path bring so many demons and ghosts in? It could only be a powerful demon cultivator entering and summoning them with some form of sorcery. Even so, Guan's lifespan still began to grow rapidly, given the sheer number of demons present. At that moment, Guan suddenly felt an urge to slaughter all around him. This method is a quick way to gain lifespan, but he restrained this impulse. Excessive slaughter could bring disaster. He should stick to his previous path to power, with no enemies, and grow stronger discreetly, because he still wasn't sure how far the highest realm in this mortal world was from him. Before becoming invincible, it was best to be cautious. From another perspective, if he saw an ant on the ground rapidly growing by devouring other insects, he would certainly kill it. Just as the ant couldn't see him in the sky, he couldn't see those in higher realms, like the immortals. As long as the mystic yellow dragon energy skill could still be upgraded, it meant there were people who could see through its concealment sorcery. Stay steady, don't get reckless. Guan relied only on growing flowers and medicinal herbs. It might not be the fastest way to grow, but it was the safest. As the years passed, he could develop into the strongest without enemies. He stopped thinking about it, and continued inspecting the medicinal herbs in the forest, clearing away the accumulated snow. When all the prompts settled, he had gained over 50,000 years of life. He had observed that the demon army had at least 200,000 members. This meant most of those demons weren't living spirits. The means of the demon path were truly sinister. As the demon army was completely annihilated, the crisis in the Third Medicine Valley was temporarily resolved, but the battle between Suju and Jichen continued above the clouds, the two evenly matched. Above the clouds, Suju held the black banner, surrounded by vast demonic qi, the dazzling golden light shining on his face. Following his gaze, there floated a heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form, more magnificent than Ji Xiaoyu's form, with golden dragons emerging as if they were true dragons. In front of the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form stood a man in a large robe, his back to the golden light, making it hard to see his true face. He looked like a true immortal in the mortal world, with a commanding presence. Your demon rebirth formation is just for show, nothing more. Jichen spoke coldly, raising his hand. The heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form behind him burst out a golden light, which entered his hand and condensed into a long spear, emitting scorching golden flames. Suju snorted coldly, suddenly turned, and transformed into a mass of demonic qi, swiftly flying towards the horizon. Jichen immediately pursued, preceded by the golden dragons, looking like a golden dragon horde towing the sun, its light illuminating the heavens and earth, radiating divine might. After Jichen and Suju left, the Third Medicine Valley finally regained its calm, and Guan continued his work. An ancient hour later, Guan reached a small river and moved all the nearby snow into it to melt. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside him. He pretended to be startled, stumbling back 2 steps. "It's you? You?" Seeing the visitor's face, Guan asked in surprise. "LV Batian, Void Crossing Realm, 2nd layer 754/1950/3200. What's with this ghostly speed?" Elder Tian was still wearing simple clothes, but his body had become robust, his withered hair floating, gradually regaining vitality. Even his skin looked younger. Under Gu An's gaze, he rapidly looked decades younger, appearing to be just over 30, with a head of white hair like silver threads floating. Transformation? Elder Tian slightly raised his chin, hovered above the ground, looking down at Guan, and said, "Do you hate these demon path cultivators?" Guan's mind raced, pretending to be uneasy and nervous as he replied, "I hate. In that case, let me take you to wipe out the demon path, how about it?" Who are you really?" Elder Tian was just a temporary name I used. My real name is LV Batian. Have you heard of it? Chapter 88. If you become my disciple, you will be the next sect leader. Good disguise. Guan looked at the arrogant LV Batian and thought in a daze. LV Batian's chin lifted even higher, thinking his boldness had shocked the young man. "Are you the previous sect leader who went mad from cultivation deviation?" Guan asked, feigning shock. "Deviation from cultivation?" LV Batian's face twitched, and he snorted. "That was deliberate on my part. But you are only at the Qi cultivation realm now. How can you eradicate the demon path?" "Kid, I merely compressed my spiritual power into my primordial spirit and pretended to go mad. I just wanted to show those people what the Supreme Sect would become without me." LV Batian's tone was full of contempt, obviously directed at the Hall of Elders. Guan remained silent. The battle between LV Batian and the Hall of Elders, how many innocent disciples would die? "Let's go." LV Batian raised his hand, intending to grab Gu An's shoulder, which made him quickly retreat. "I'm not going, it's too dangerous." Guan shook his head. He had to guard Medicine Valley. LV Batian chuckled mockingly. "Don't you want to see how the battle between righteous and demon paths ends?" Guan frantically shook his head, like a rattledrum, waving his hand. "I better stay and watch over Medicine Valley." "Don't worry, your Medicine Valley will be fine. Just now, I released an aura, and a great cultivator is on the way." LV Batian no longer referred to himself as this seat, and his tone had softened. Guan indeed sensed an aura of the Void Crossing realm quickly approaching. The foundation of the Supreme Sect was truly profound. How many cultivators of the Void Crossing realm were hidden? LV Batian acted again. Guan could see his movements but couldn't dodge, so he could only comply. Grabbing Gu An's shoulder, LV Batian disappeared from the spot with him. During the swift capture, Guan maximized the Mystic Yellow Dragon energy skill, concealing his golden core and primordial spirit, making himself appear to be a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. It turned out he worried too much. LV Batian didn't take the opportunity to examine his body. After 10 breaths, LV Batian stopped, bringing Guan to a grand hall. The hall was spacious, with stone pillars on both sides entwined with true dragons, phoenixes, qilin, and other divine beast auspicious carvings unfamiliar to Guan. LV Batian let go, stepping forward, leaving a sentence. "Wait here, my power hasn't fully recovered yet." Guan, through lifespan detection, could see he hadn't recovered to his peak. These words from LV Batian's mouth sounded like nonsense. "Your power hasn't recovered, and you're still acting tough? Releasing your aura. Aren't you afraid your enemies will seize this opportunity to eliminate you?" "Wait, this reckless guy forced me to follow. Could he have found out I'm the sword Venerable Fudao?" Guan thought of this and broke into a cold sweat. He watched LV Batian climb the steps, sitting in a golden chair, like a supreme ruler, imposing. He could tell LV Batian was indeed cultivating, with spiritual power rapidly flowing within. The hall fell silent, and Guan pondered LV Batian's intentions. After a while, Guan sensed 2 auras approaching quickly, one of which felt familiar. And how? The other aura had already reached the unification realm. He didn't turn around, just walked to a nearby stone pillar to wait. A few breaths later, two figures flew into the hall. Guan looked up, directly using lifespan detection. Lei Zhen, first layer of unification realm 1465/2700/2750. Lei Zhen? Guan had never heard of him, thinking sect leader Chu Tianqi had arrived. It seemed Chu Tianqi's cultivation level was much higher. Gu An's confidence in his cultivation level of the 9 layers of unification realm wavered. After this tribulation, he had to work harder to accumulate lifespan. Being the strongest in the supreme sect wasn't enough. He had to survive the great demon tribulation too. This realization brought pressure to Guan. LV Batian, you're still alive. Lei Zhen spoke loudly as he walked towards LV Batian, his voice booming like a bell. He was burly, wearing an embroidered black robe, with a mysterious and fierce beast head on his back, holding thunder in its mouth, making him look even more formidable. 16-year-old and Hao had grown taller, wearing a fitted blue robe, his long hair tied high, with 2 strands of black hair fluttering like swords. His handsome face couldn't hide the sharpness in his eyes. Guan felt very gratified looking at him now. So handsome like me. And Hao noticed his gaze and looked back, nodding slightly. Lei Zhen, do you now hope I'm alive or dead? LV Batian's voice echoed, not opening his eyes, his tone indifferent and more oppressive than when he faced Guan. Lei Zhen stood in the hall, eyeing LV Batian, squinting. Void crossing realm, looks like you were still affected. LV Batian didn't respond. The atmosphere in the hall grew tense. And Hao came to Gu An's side, transmitting his voice. Brother, who is this LV Batian? Guan looked at him in surprise. He didn't know and still came? And Hao followed with a voice transmission. I was captured. My master had Elder Lei protect me as we retreated, but Elder Lei suddenly turned and brought me here. Guan couldn't help but ask through voice transmission. In front of them, do you think our sound transmission skill is useful? And Hao looked towards Lei Zhen. Lei Zhen's robe fluttered slightly, an overwhelming aura brewing, poised to erupt at any moment. LV Batian, since you've faked your death, don't come back. The Supreme Sect doesn't need you. As Lei Zhen's words fell, the Grand Hall's doors slammed shut. An immense aura enveloped the entire hall, making Hao's breath hitch. Attacking me, the former sect leader, in front of juniors? LV Batian's voice echoed, never opening his eyes. Lei Zhen stepped forward. A chance for him to witness the cutthroat reality of the immortal cultivation world. He suddenly lunged at LV Batian, right palm raised, slapping towards LV Batian's skull. Boom. 2 powerful spiritual forces collided, unleashing a terrifying gust, making the entire hall tremble. Guan pretended to struggle to withstand it. And Hao stepped in front of him, using his own spiritual power to shield him. This kid. Guan felt gratified seeing Hao's protective stance. Despite being only 16, Hao had already reached the 5th layer of Foundation Establishment realm. In terms of aura, Guan felt he wasn't inferior to an 8th layer cultivator of the same realm. Unfortunately, he was facing the aura of a unification realm cultivator. Hao gritted his teeth, but was still forced back by the auras of Lei Zhen and LV Batian. Guan sensed something, looking ahead, seeing Lei Zhen trembling despite attacking, his aura weakening rapidly, while another aura surged quickly. LV Batian. You impossible! Lei Zhen suddenly exclaimed, his tone filled with disbelief and despair. LV Batian slowly stood up, both feet leaving the ground, floating, looking down at him. LV Batian's expression was icy. 9 layers of void crossing realm. LV Batian's cultivation increased by several layers at once. Furthermore, he was breaking through to the unification realm, releasing his true power. Hao was also captivated by LV Batian's power, eyes full of wonder. You tricked me. Defying fate, divine skill. Lei Zhen trembled, his voice filled with shock and anger. LV Batian looked down at him mocking. Lei Zhen, you remain as reckless as ever. How many died due to your rashness? You've never learned. Today, it's your turn to face the consequences. I wanted to wait for Chu Tianqi, but you came to die instead. I'll take your cultivation. Don't flee too quickly in the afterlife. Chu Tianqi will join you soon." As he finished, LV Batian raised his right hand, pressing it against Lei Zhen's forehead. Lei Zhen struggled desperately, unable to break free. Guan could see his primordial spirit struggling too. LV Batian used a baffling skill to suppress Lei Zhen's body and primordial spirit while devouring his spiritual power. Guan was also frightened. What kind of cultivation technique was this? Boom! LV Batian's aura surged to new heights, while Lei Zhen knelt, his body withering visibly, wild black hair turning white. First layer of unification realm. Meanwhile, the pressure on Guan and Anhao lessened, LV Batian retracting his aura to spare them. Anhao sighed in relief, standing quietly before Guan watching. Guan felt helpless, having taught the boy too little. Instead of escaping, he chose to watch, leaving Guan speechless. LV Batian's aura rose constantly, while Lei Zhen's waned, the hall's shaking subsiding. After a while, LV Batian completely drained Lei Zhen's spiritual power. After releasing him, Lei Zhen toppled back, rolling down the steps. Struggling, face full of pain, he raised a hand towards LV Batian, seemingly to plead for mercy. LV Batian lifted his right hand, flicked his finger, and a bloody energy pierced Lei Zhen's forehead, dissipating his primordial spirit. Gathering spirit divine finger. Guan sensed LV Batian's aura had reached the third level of unification realm, still overflowing with spiritual power. LV Batian's cultivation far surpassed the third level of unification realm. This power threatened the entire demon path. Guan remained vigilant, fearing LV Batian's possible attacks. After all, LV Batian's son LV Xian was also deranged. LV Batian ignored Anhao, turning to Guan smiling. "What do you think? Do I qualify to eradicate the demon path now?" Guan answered nervously. "You are the sect leader, of course." He stepped forward, standing before Anhao. "Guan, worship me as your master, and you'll be the next sect leader." LV Batian commanded imperiously. Guan was troubled, smiling bitterly. "Sect leader, my talent is mediocre. No matter how you cultivate me, I won't earn the sect's approval. When you pass the position to me, chaos would ensue in the supreme sect." LV Batian sneered. "What if I transfer my cultivation to you before my time ends?" Guan was stumped by his words. But he couldn't take the sect leader role. Even mighty LV Batian was forced into fake death to pass on leadership. He didn't want the trouble. Moreover, by the time LV Batian neared his end, his cultivation would likely mean little to Guan. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.